Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is Scorpio Sky, and you are listening to the Keepin It Strong Style podcast, and it is the best.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frost. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is a network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, joined by the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be covering Fantastica Mania, answering mailbag questions, talking to our buddy Zack Porter, who was at Wrestle Kingdom 13 live, and of course, we'll be covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get all the podcasts and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam.tv. Powerslam.tv is an independent wrestling streaming service with over 4,000 hours of independent wrestling from companies across the world. So check it out. If you use the promo code Social Suplex, you get your first month free. And young boy, we've been saying for 2019 that there would be big things coming for Keeping It Strong Style and Social Suplex, and I'm happy to say by the end of this month, our Pro Wrestling Tees shop should be launching. So all the great listeners and fans of Keeping It Strong Style and Social Suplex will be able to support us by getting merchandise.
Are we going to be selling kimonos?
I'm not sure if that's...
Dude, we need to sell kimonos.
on the Pro Wrestling Tees, the inventory.
Listen, Ricky from Ricky and Clive podcast wants a kimono, I'm telling you.
Dude, he would probably rock that, man.
I know he would. So yeah, we're going to have a young boy shirt?
We can eventually, yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, this episode is brought to you by AEW. We are all elite. We are shills.
All elite. All elite.
No, yeah, that's exciting. So do we know what shirt? I mean, guys, just so everybody knows, on the air, Jeremy is the brains and the mastermind behind Social Suplex and behind, all the ongoings of the business side of things. I just show up. I just say foolishness. That's why I get in trouble every week, and that's why people are blasting me on Twitter and
saying you're annoying.
Yeah, apparently I'm getting. Yeah, this is my favorite New Japan podcast, but the young boy is getting more and more annoying every week. I'm like, yeah, I got feelings, bro. I'm trying to bring goodness to your life. I'm sorry that you don't like Jay White. No, that's funny though. But yeah, Jeremy does everything. So the fact that I knew we were getting a Pro Wrestling Tees, but I wasn't sure when that would be. So what are we looking at as our first few shirts?
So we're definitely gonna put up the Social Suplex Podcast Network logo as a shirt. Gonna put up the Keeping It Strong Style logo as a shirt. And then from there, we'll see what else we'll add in. Because we are limited with designs until we sell our first 25 shirts, and then we can
That'll be easy.
Get more designs on there.
That's easy work. That's light work. We got dedicated fans out there.
I know.
I know they want to sport. I know so many of you want to walk into WrestleCon this WrestleMania weekend
with your Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt,
walking down the streets of Manhattan, just sporting the young boys, sporting Jeremy the Shooter. I know that's what you guys want. So that's exciting. I'm very excited for that, man.
Yeah, so just stay tuned. Like I said, by the end of this month, that store should be up and running, and a few designs up for you guys to purchase. So be on the lookout.
This is a weird week. This is like one of the first times since like we've started this show where I feel like we have an off week almost. It's like we had like a little break, or
Yeah. So this past weekend we had the first night of Fantastica Mania, and that was pretty much the only New Japan related thing there was, really.
I almost don't even want to count that night. I watched the show, and I will get into the show here, but it literally was nothing. Even by Fantastica Mania standards, it was just a nothing show.
I mean, last year we covered all the nights of Fantastica Mania.
I like Fantastica Mania.
Yeah, I mean, last year was the first year I've watched the tour and seen it, and I thought it was awesome. I mean, there were some great matches last year.
I feel like one of those guys is like, I love this person, then they like trash him. They don't actually like him. They just say that as like a way to like kind of, let me just start by saying I really like this person, but they suck for these reasons. No, but for real, we always, every year I get excited for Fantastica Mania. I like a lot of the CMLL guys.
Yeah, and I've been out here on Twitter like, telling people, hey, don't sleep on Fantastica Mania. don't sleep on this night of Fantastica Mania.
What night did we watch that? That was Friday night?
That was Friday night. That was the first televised night.
So a lot of those, in the past, they usually don't show that night. Usually it gets on like Samurai TV, or it's just a house show. They decided to air it. It's like the one show this week they've had other shows. The one show. And it felt literally like they didn't know the camera was actually rolling because they took it easy. Like, nothing above 3 stars. I mean, it was like...
Gentlemen threes all around.
Yeah, man. So I guess it's one of the first times I'm like literally flabbergasted by a New Japan show where I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about
I know, like
it.
we were talking about before the show, it's like, what do we say about Fantastica Mania? Because I mean... honestly, like this first night, I don't think it's even worth like going match by match and breaking it down and talking about what happened.
I don't know if we've ever like not done that.
Yeah,
really.
But I mean, like there was nothing missable. Like you can jump into Fantastica Mania later this week. I think Wednesday. Well, they're coming back. They'll be in Korakuen.
Yeah, they're coming back with a vengeance. They got like 5 nights back to back.
Right, you can jump into those nights without watching the first night and be fine.
And they're gonna be. Those shows are gonna be good. They've got the family tournament. They've got all the heavy hitters. Like it's gonna, and they've got some really good singles matches. I know Barbaro Cavernario is going up against I think the guy that was in the junior tournament this past year. What's his name?
The best of Super Juniors.
Yeah,
Dragon Lee.
No, in the tag league.
Oh, in the tag league. Soberano.
Yeah, Soberano and him, and that should be a good match actually. We'll need to go over all those cards. But there's some good singles matches coming up, and the family tournament, the tag tournament should be good. I mean, it's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
But that first night was kind of it's rough.
Yeah. So I'll just run the results down real quick.
I think the one thing that was interesting was how many guys worked their CMLL gimmicks.
Yeah.
And some of the time I didn't realize who they even were until I was like, "What is that showing, yo?"
Yeah. The opening match, they had Geto, Taiji Ishimori teaming up with Templario, and they defeated Tiger Mask, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Aduaz. We had Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Taichi, and Frosterio defeating Jushin Thunder Liger, Flyer, and Teton. We had Okamura and Sanson defeating Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. But
that is interesting.
Atlantis.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the thing. Atlantis was the single highlight of he's the most memorable thing that occurred on the show, and not in a good way.
Dude, this man is so old, and he's still trying to do this lucha libre style.
Bro, he went hard. You know what the thing is? The last few years, he's not been trying this hard. It's because his son they're debuting his son. Literally, that's the debut of the gimmick of Atlantis Jr. So Atlantis is going mad hard, bro.
Yeah. Dude, he did a diving crossbody from the top rope to the outside.
You like stopped it. You're like, Josh, watch this, and you like replayed it, and I was like, oh my god,
bro, that was the slowest cross. He didn't even really jump.
I was like, look at this dude. He literally just fell into them. I was like, you can't just be falling off the top rope into people like that. Like, my God.
He did another one in the ring.
Yeah.
Oh my, I was like, dude, this is the worst crossbody I ever seen.
But here's the thing. For like, okay, so I'm not going to sit here and claim to be the biggest like lucha head. I'm not. But for the past like 2 or 3 years, going back to like 2015, Atlantis was having these classic matches at the anniversary show, putting up his mask. Specifically the match with La Sombra, the match he had with Ultimo Guerrero, doing big business. And it was like the guy could turn back the clock when needed. And then, he would just kind of screw off when, these smaller shows were going. But like, I think at this point, Father Time has literally caught up with him.
Yeah.
And he's like in that Undertaker category where it's like,
please stop.
Bro. I think we're very close to him potentially being done. I mean, I would need to be a little more knowledgeable. I don't want to misspeak when it comes to CMLL, but the thing is, Atlantis's mask is pretty much the most prized mask in all of Lucha Libre. It's essentially the equivalent to like Undertaker's undefeated streak at this point.
Right.
So they have an opportunity. I know that they're trying to push Atlantis Jr., so that's, El Hijo de Atlantis, or however, I don't know if that...
It's Atlantis Jr.
Just Atlantis Jr.?
Yeah.
And so this is his debut under the gimmick, and I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling like you could really do business if you have someone take Atlantis's mask.
Oh, you can, like, catapult somebody, yeah.
And then you've got a natural big money rival for Atlantis Jr. to avenge his father's loss. But I don't know if they'll take the mask off Atlantis. A lot of people don't want him to lose the mask. They want him to retire with it. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, too, is the jury is still out on Atlantis as a performer and whether this gimmick is going to succeed or not. Whether they want to invest doing that for his son. So it remains to be seen. But I'm looking forward to seeing those two guys specifically out of just maybe morbid curiosity to see Atlantis just... trying his little heart out, and seeing what Atlantis Jr. brings to the table.
Then after that, there was Cuachero, Gran Guerrero, and Ultimo Guerrero defeating the team of Angel de Oro, Dragon Lee, and Mystico.
That was like the best match of the night, if I remember right.
That's one of them, yeah.
And it's probably like the only thing above 3 stars, and not by much.
Yeah. Then we had Kushida here on his last tour, well, second to last tour. Kushida teaming up with Soberano Jr. and Caristico to defeat Namagage, which was Desperado.
That's Despi, yeah.
Barbario Cavanario, and Volador Jr.
This was the match that I thought was going to be obviously easily match of the night. You look at the lineup and nah. I don't even think it was 3 stars. It was bad, actually. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It wasn't even good. It was not great. It was not good. It was below average. It was not even up to par.
Yeah, I guess the real highlight would probably be Desperado and his CMLL excursion gimmick that he had in...
Again, I really think that... I'm not going to criticize these guys too much. I really think that where they were in Edian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really came off like they were just treating it like a little house show, like it wasn't a TV televised thing, even though it was. Like the performances were not like they were.
Right. And then the main event of the evening, we had Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, Bushi, and Terrible taking on, or they defeated the team of Fujin, Raijin, Toa Hanare, and Satoshi Kojima.
Yeah, and Fujin and Raijin are Shonyo. Under the masks, under their gimmicks from Mexico. And that match wasn't really anything either. I mean, the one thing that's cool about it, seeing Terrible team up with LIJ, you know, all the...
Right, for those of you who don't know, Terrible is a member of Los Ingobernables in Mexico.
I'm pretty sure Terrible is a founder. I could be wrong, but I
think he might. I can't remember. I remember I looked it up while I was watching, but I can't remember now. But yeah, he's a part of that Los Ingobernables group in Mexico that's run by Rush. And so...
No, it was... My bad. It was La Mascara.
Gotcha.
Was one of the original founders. But yeah, Terrible's been with them for a few years now.
Yeah, I think 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, this was just kind of a presentation night almost. If you've never watched, like you got introduced to a lot of the wrestlers.
I wouldn't even recommend this as an introduction. I think if you want to get introduced, there's no better way than to see like the good stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to come in and see some sorry Libre
yeah.
and that be your first like impression of it. There wasn't even any elements of a story the whole night. There wasn't any
They really didn't set up anything, really.
The only thing that was kind of there was Kojima being in that main event and that he got injured in his series of matches last year with Rush. But they didn't really set anything up in that match either, that to my knowledge now.
Yeah, so...
One talking point I did want to mention, though. What did you think about Naito and the IC title? Because he did come out with the title, but he's still dragging it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, we felt like we were kind of getting the turning point of him kind of respecting the belt a little bit more and starting to appreciate the belt because it helped him beat Jericho. But yeah, he was still dragging it. When they were leaving, he gave it to Terrible to like hold, to carry out. So, you know, clearly still kind of a rocky relationship with Naito and that belt.
I love that you call it a rocky relationship because it is exactly what I said last week when I said it is a battered woman who keeps coming back to her abuser, and he has...
Maybe he'll treat me right this time.
Maybe he'll love me, but... And maybe for a moment he had a change of heart, but people don't change. He went back to his abusive ways.
Well, he hasn't thrown it yet.
He hasn't thrown it. Yeah, you're right. He's for the time being treating it a little bit better. But yeah, I think it is interesting. I'm not sure what the deal is with the IC title and Naito going forward. Maybe he does just need to give it to Lord Taichi.
Yeah,
because he definitely wants it.
So that's pretty much our coverage, you know, review of the first night of Fantastica Mania.
I think that's the fastest review we've ever done.
So you know, hopefully these next few nights they kind of deliver like we are expecting them to.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to, but I'm just, you know, never know.
Although I don't think the lineup of guys that they're bringing this year is close to what they've brought in years past. Am I wrong in that?
I feel like they have majority of the people they had last year. The only person there's no Rush, but everybody else for the most part.
I don't know about that. I'd have to do some research. It doesn't feel like the whole crew is here.
We'll have to look back and see. But yeah, so we have plenty of questions to answer, plenty of news to go over.
Lots of news.
And then after the news, we interviewed our friend of the show, Zack Porter. He attended Wrestle Kingdom 13 live. So we'll cut to that after we jump into the news. But first, let's run through some of these questions. So first question comes from Reddit user Muzza_44.
This is where you guys get to see whether we're good or not. Because every week we get, you know, awesome shows and all this newsworthy stuff. And I mean, literally a talking parrot could come up here and do exactly what we do. But on a week when there's nothing but opinions and news and analysis, this is where like we gotta like come off the cuff and like actually deliver the goods. And either we don't know what we're watching and we suck and we have terrible opinions, or we're geniuses, and this show is truly the Ace of podcasts.
Well, let's find out. First question comes from Reddit user Muzza_44.
Oh, one thing before we move on, I do want to say one thing. We got a lot of questions this week, and that's awesome because I was actually expecting this to be like I was like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with all the news, everyone's excited. So yeah, we do have some good questions here.
So Muzza asks, who from CMLL would you like to see a bit more in New Japan? Also, could you see Marty Scurll making an appearance at either the U.S. New Beginning shows or Honor Rising shows? Let's start first. Who would you like to see from CMLL more in New Japan?
Easy answer. My favorite luchador, Barbaro Cavernario. He's my favorite guy.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I remember you last year telling me, like, you have to keep your eyes out for Barbaro Cavernario on this tour. This guy is crazy, and I agree with you. I watched him. He was crazy and very entertainment. He's one of those guys who does not care about his body. He does that crazy, jumping dive from the inside to the outside. And so, yeah, I think he would be a great guy to implement into New Japan. Personally, I know I'm a big fan of Dragon Lee, and I know he is pure, sporadically around New Japan, but
he's there more than any of the other luchadors.
Right, but I mean, I would love to see a Dragon Lee Jr. title run.
Yeah,
I think that would be great.
I'm kind of looking over the roster, seeing if there's anyone. I know you really like Ultimo Guerrero. You seem to dig his stuff.
I think they're entertaining. Out there raising the roof. The Guerreros, it would be great to have in the tag division to mix some things up.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like looking over a lot of this. I mean, I would love to see LA Park show up.
That would be an interesting kind of dynamic.
We've never really seen that, but I would love to see LA Park. Obviously, Roosh, I'm a big fan of Roosh, so yeah. That's another guy. I don't know what going forward, but I mean, obviously with Rey Fenix, and then also like Pentagon making appearances in CMLL this past year. I would love either of those two guys to show up in New Japan, obviously. I mean, I feel like those are all safe answers. Mm-hmm. Teton.
Yeah, dude. Teton usually is
Teton's a guy that I don't understand why he's not bigger than he is, or you know what I mean? Because he blows me away every time I see him.
When people talk about all these great luchadors, Teton seems to kind of get overlooked quite often. Angel de Oro is another good guy, and Mystico.
Yeah, Mystico's good. Stuka Jr.'s good. Soberano Jr. I mean, there's a lot of like really good, luchadors. But yeah, I mean, those are the guys that kind of stick out to me. And I mean, again, I'm not someone who's watching every Friday night, watching the Arena Mexico
right.
shows.
We are, not Lucha Libre experts whatsoever.
No. No, but these are all guys that like, one guy I would, Negro Casas. He was supposed to be on the tour last year, and he wasn't. He's not on this year either. I mean, yeah, he's old, but I love Negro Casas. He's like one of my favorite all-time Lucha Libre workers, like by far, and the guy can still go.
Yeah, Voldor Jr. is another guy. He's almost in that Dragon Lee category where you see him a little bit more than other guys. I wouldn't mind seeing more Voldor.
Yeah, and I guess one last name I'll throw out there is I don't think we've ever really seen Hechicero, and Hechicero's like just an incredible technician. He would be cool to see. So yeah, those are. I mean, yeah. But the good thing is you can see all those guys for free on YouTube every week, and they air a lot of those Arena Mexico shows on New Japan World. So it's pretty cool stuff.
And then the second part of Muzza's question, he said, could we see Marty Scurll making an appearance at either the U.S. New Beginning shows or Honor Rising shows?
I feel like it's possible, but I feel like it's a stretch to say that he would probably be on the New Beginning shows in the USA.
Yeah, I feel more confident saying he will be on Honor Rising.
He's definitely going to be on Honor Rising.
Since, that is for those of you who don't know, Honor Rising is the Ring of Honor show that happens in Cork and Hall every year. It's happening in February, and they bring over Ring of Honor guys to New Japan. And yeah, I mean, Marty Scurll, clearly a guy they've pushed in the past, former IWGP Junior Champion, former never 6-man tag champion. I mean, he's still very popular, still has buzz. The only elite guy they have left. And I definitely think they will utilize Skrull on that Honor Rising tour.
Yeah, plus I'm expecting them to set up potential angles for MSG on the Honor Rising shows.
Right.
So there's no way he won't be involved with those. Could he be involved with the US shows? I mean, I guess, but those are smaller shows, it seems like. And they're headlining with like
Ishii and Kojima.
Yeah, like upper mid-card talent sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And Marty in the States would be by far...
Excuse me, I mean Ishii and Nagata, sorry.
We don't even know, but I know that that's one of the rumored matches. Mm-hmm. Maybe possibly Goto and...
Jeff Cobb,
Jeff Cobb, matches like that. And in the States, like, Marty's just a much bigger star. He might not be in Japan, but in the States, he's vastly bigger than all those guys. So I would be surprised if he was going to be on those cards and not featured in strictly main events. So I don't see him being on those cards probably.
Yeah.
If he is, I mean, great, but I really doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds some star power to those cards, but...
I mean, unless he's headlining, I just don't see it.
Yeah. All right, Reddit user Maserati says, New Japan needs more juniors going forward. Hiromu is injured, and Marty and Kushida are gone now. What do you expect / want to fill out those ranks going forward?
That is the $1 million question. So,
yeah, we kind of touched on this. I think it was on last week's show. I say that they really need to tap into their partner promotions to kind of fill out the junior division for the remainder of this year. I mean, you start with Ring of Honor. They signed Bandito this year, and Bandito's being pushed heavily now in Ring of Honor. I would say, Bandito would be a great person to get in, your Best of Super Junior and potentially challenge for the title this year. Guys like a John Gresham. He's not a high flyer, but he's definitely junior weight and has a very technical style. That would be great to mix things up.
I gotta tell you, I see where you're coming from, Jeremy, and I agree that that's a temporary fix. But the reality is, they're looking to do what are they doing on the last night of the
Sumo Hall Best of Super Junior finals?
Yeah, they got Sumo Hall coming up, and this is pretty much a junior division that's decimated. Ospreay's gone, Marty's gone, Kushida's gone. We don't know if Marty's gone actually.
Right. I mean. With the Ring of Honor partnership, they can still use Marty for a little bit.
Yeah, but Hiromu is injured for the time being. So yeah, like a lot of the top stars are suddenly not there.
Yeah,
they need to sign guys. It's what they need to do. There are rumors that they are going to be fairly aggressive this coming year with signing new talent. We've been talking about it since last year that they were going to, business has been up ever since Wrestle Kingdom last year, and then I gotta imagine with the numbers that we're seeing being reported for Wrestle Kingdom this year and the increased interest in the product. I know it's a tumultuous time with everything going on in the news and in the wrestling world, but make no mistake about it, like, business is good.
Yeah.
And they're in the same arms race that everybody else is, that WWE is in, that MLW and Ring of Honor and AEW, all these guys. And they need to sign talent.
Yeah.
They need to sign talent to exclusive deals.
Lock them down for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. The one thing, though, is it's been a fairly taboo thing in Japan to poach talent.
Right.
Mainly because there's this perception amongst the fans of, like, loyalty and honor. And if you came up in a certain dojo, that is usually the promotion you perform for. And I mean, unless it's a really small minor company, and don't get me wrong, they all at this point are not at their peaks,
Right.
Like Noah and New Japan today are not what they were 15, 20 years ago. But that being said, they're still considered like major companies, as opposed to, like, say, a Kai and Tai dojo. It's a totally different deal. But I almost have to expect for them to pick up somebody in Japan, maybe.
Right. I mean, this past year we saw Shingo and Ishimori jump over.
The Ishimori thing was controversial. The Shingo thing, not as much. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, with how things have been shaking out in Japan and in the wrestling world, I wouldn't be surprised if when some of these talents' contracts come up that maybe they do negotiate with New Japan and come over. Mm-hmm. Robbie Eagles is a guy that we saw that could they're still talking about him. He could be brought over.
Yeah.
And I think that they need to be aggressive and try to get some of the talent that... I mean, why couldn't they have gotten, say, Bandito instead of Ring of Honor getting Bandito?
Right.
How much better would the juniors division be if they had been the ones to pick them up?
Yeah. You know, and our next question was pretty similar, coming from Reddit user FLIJ.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Sir. I don't even know if we should read this question on the air. That disrespect for LIJ will not be tolerated.
But I mean, his question was pretty similar with ACH and Kushida not being a part of next year's Best of Super Junior. Who do you think we brought in, either temporarily or signed full time? He said he thinks Robbie Eagles maybe brought in, but he disliked him during the Junior Tag League.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed during the Junior Tag League either.
Yes, it wasn't. You know, Robbie Eagles is one of those guys you hear a lot of buzz about, and people comparing him to Will Ospreay, and he was nowhere near close to that level during the tag league.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that you brought up, Jeremy. You mentioned borrowing talent from their partners, you know, and it's a double-edged sword because on the one side, if you've got all these luchadors over in CMLL, right, mm-hmm. especially with how tumultuous things are in Mexico, it's like you can't poach their talent.
Right.
But you don't want to poach like their competition's talent because they might have an opposition to you using, say, AAA's. Even though some of that's died down, it's like you can't get AAA guys because it's like, oh, that's a AAA guy. That CMLL doesn't want you to use them.
Right.
So it's like this really weird thing. And then it's kind of the same thing. It's like in Europe, there's a lot of talented guys, but, you know, do you want to be poaching Rev Pro's talent base? Or do you want to be stealing guys from Australia? So it is interesting, and it's like, at this point, they need to kind of be going after like the American indie talent that's out there. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, and then maybe start putting feelers out there for guys that are, you know, local.
Right. Also, we got Kawato, who's been on excursion in CMLL for a while now.
Yeah.
He's a guy that they can bring back and put in that junior division.
If he's ready. Yeah. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know where he's at, you know. I guess that's something that Akamura would have. You know, if for those of you probably are not aware, Akamura is sort of the New Japan representative down in CMLL. So I don't know how all that works, but I would assume that him and Mima Shimoda, they're married in real life, and they're kind of like the representatives. I'm sure anyone that goes there and is on excursion probably answers to them or gets reported on from them. So I guess he would probably have to be the one to kind of determine where they think he is in his progress at this point. You know, I don't know if he's ready.
And then also, I mean, too, there are some junior teams that you could, you know, kind of push in singles. I mean, Shingo Takagi, I mean, that guy needs to be pushed in the singles division. I mean, they could pull the trigger and break up Sho and Yo. Push those guys in the junior division. But also, if you do that, then you kill your junior tag division. So,
well, you don't have to split them up either.
Right. I mean, they could still be singles and still be a part of the same group.
They could be a tag team and still be singles.
Right, yeah.
You know, I mean, we saw that with the Golden Lovers this year. We've seen it with Evil and Sonata. I mean, it does not necessarily mean you have to split them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know at some point they probably will.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because I think there's money in that feud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason I would say. But yeah. I mean, the real thing here is that they've lost 3 or 4 key guys, and they need to sign, you know, bigger talent. Now, I'll throw one name out there, and I know that we'll get to the news here in a little bit. I know that he is already tied to a few other groups, but we don't really know what his status is. The one person I'm saying right now that they need to bring in for the Best of Super Juniors, if they want to move tickets and they want to like do business this year, they need Pac. They need to bring Pac in. That's like the biggest free agent in the junior division that they possibly could bring in. I would liken him to a Shingo in that he could be an open weight star.
Right.
And so I don't think he'd be pigeonholed, but if they I think that's a guy that you can do business in Sumo Hall with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what his contract status is, because obviously he's in Dragon Gate right now. He's one of the champions. He's also been making appearances for Rev Pro, and then obviously we saw he's now part of All Elite Wrestling as well. So would New Japan contractually, with all these other stuff going on, be able to use him?
Who's just throwing it out there, like, who's one name that you could think of that maybe New Japan could possibly bring in for the junior division that you think could, like, really help things? Can you think of any, like, unsigned talents out there?
Dude, it's so hard. Like, every name that I'm, like, kind of roll through my head, I'm like, oh, he's signed, he's getting signed. Yeah, man, I don't...
Like, the only guys I can think of, like, are, like, Pac.
Right. Some other names I'm thinking about who are not signed, like, they're not going to move business. Like, a name that came to my mind was, Hot Fire Myron Reed.
No.
He's not going to move business, but he's a great talent, though. And
right.
He'd be a great guy.
Those are guys you can spice up the division with and maybe build over time, but they're not, like, made. I'm thinking, like, Phoenix?
Ray Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one person.
But he's another guy that we don't know what.
We don't know the situation.
There's a Lucha Underground TV deal. He works for MLW. He works for Impact. He does CMLL and AAA. It's like, I don't know.
The one thing with me is I feel like if he's working for all those companies, and that's what I thought about that too. If he is, because people are like, oh, he's signed. It's like, well, he can't be signed everywhere.
Right, yeah.
Like, what kind of contract is this guy under that he's... And the same thing with Pac. Like, what kind of contracts are these guys under where they're working multiple companies? At some point, someone's probably going to lock them down, I would assume.
Right, but yeah, I mean...
Or even if New Japan brought him in and let him do, like, the Ricochet thing or the Will Ospreay thing, and, like, they're part of the roster, but they're still allowed to work outside.
Right.
Those are possibilities.
Well, yeah, then, in that case, yeah, I mean, Phoenix and Pentagon would be, definitely two guys that you want to bring in ASAP.
Believe it or not, and I could be wrong on this, I don't think Pentagon would be in the best Super Juniors.
Yeah, he's more of a heavyweight, right?
I mean, they could say he was.
Right.
But I don't know if it's even believable. Because he's, like, such a big star. It's like, he's going to do best Super Juniors? I don't think so.
And plus, that match with Kenny at All In.
Yeah.
I'm sure New Japan would probably use him as a heavyweight.
I agree.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Do we have any more questions about best Super Juniors coming up, or... Not really?
No, but we have some questions about...
There was one thing I want to mention with that is I've heard a lot of people speculating, like, what could they possibly do to sell out, Sumo Hall? And I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty sure if they're doing Sumo Hall, we're getting an IWGP title match. I know it's not, like, traditional and usually, like, the best Super Juniors headlines, and it still might.
Right.
But if they're going to run Sumo Hall, you got to imagine that they're going to do a title shot,
do you think they could just load the undercard with other title matches? Like, could they do a heavyweight tag and a never title match?
They could, but I don't know if that's going to do it. I mean, again, it's,
Right, Sumo Hall.
It's Sumo Hall. I would assume that they would have to have a world title match. And that's what, in May?
Yeah.
So, I mean, whoever is the champion coming out of MSG, that'd probably be like their first title defense. I think with this more aggressive schedule that New Japan has going into 2019 and running these bigger shows, I think we are going to see more title defenses for the IWGP title than we have in recent years.
Yeah.
And already that's been increased over the past few years from what it used to be. And I think it's going to increase even more because they're running more big shows.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up on that Sumo Hall card. So next question comes from Mr. ACP.
Uh-oh.
He says
Mr. ACP, what's up?
He says these questions are kind of geared towards me since I still actively watch the product.
What? I still watch New Japan.
But Josh is welcome to chime in too.
What are you talking about? I watch New Japan.
He's not talking about New Japan.
What product are we talking about? Because the only product I know of is New Japan.
He says, what's the ceiling for Kushida in WWE/NXT?
Oh, here we go.
So, the rumor mill has it that Kushida is, potentially going to WWE. Obviously, neither side has come out and said it's official, but all signs point that way, that he's going to Stanford. So, man, it's going to be interesting. Also, as JCP says, given that it's a bummer he's leaving New Japan, are you still excited to see what his career will look like in WWE? So, I think going to NXT, starting on NXT would be great for him. The NXT fan base, the majority of those guys are like a hardcore fan base, and a majority of those fans watch New Japan and would be familiar with Kushida. And I think they can get a good push out of Kushida. But honestly, I don't know with the loaded roster they have in NXT right now. I don't know if Kushida could be NXT champion on a brand where you have Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. I just don't know if he would reach that level. Don't get me wrong, his wrestling is phenomenal. But all those guys, I mean, they have the advantage of speaking English, and they, they have more charisma and just connect with the fans more. Would you say? Would you agree?
This whole thing is very questionable for me. Very, very questionable. I understand the argument. I understand the argument of Kushida leaving New Japan at this point. I mean, he was in the junior division for years and years and years, and he got to the point where, we did redemption stories, we did story arcs with him. He was the ace for, multiple years. So it's kind of like, and I mean, he's won all the accolades, multiple time junior champion, multiple time best of Super Juniors winner and finalist. So you kind of run out of things for him to do. And the next step you would start to consider is like, well, maybe move to heavyweight or like a tag run or something of that nature. And it's like, and if you're not going to do those, then you would probably relegate him into some other kind of minor role, like, one of these opener, like mid card acts, like almost like a Taguchi at this point, who's just in in multi-man matches. Realistically, before we talk about WWE NXT, I want to talk about this. Do you think that it's the right move for him to leave New Japan, or do you think that there was an option to keep him there?
I mean, a guy that talented, I feel there's always a way to utilize a guy like that. A guy that's been in your company for 8 years and has been one of the top stars in your junior division. Personally, if it was me, I would try to find a way to utilize him in another role. Potentially put him in the never open weight division. You got Ospreay there. You could have done a never title match with those guys. Potentially, maybe find him a junior tag, bring over Chris Sabin, run the time machine for the junior tag titles. Try to do something with this guy. Even potentially, try him at heavyweight and see what happens. I know a lot of people think he's too small or doesn't have the charisma to be, the IWGP champion. But hey, maybe he could get an IC title shot, a US title shot.
The Never division.
Yeah.
I mean, the Never division was right there,
Yeah.
Here's my thing with Kushida, and I might be opposing. I know there's people that think, like, it's New Japan, and trust me, guys, like, we watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, so it's not like we are unaware of the traditions or the history of what kind of guys they push there. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's still a cosmetic business, and they still push guys that are... and it's not just cosmetic, people that have legitimacy, people that are believable in the role. And in Japan, that is important. That is something they do. That being said, I'm hearing people saying, like, Kushida's tiny. They're like, he's tiny. Like, he's little. And, they would never push him. Like, he's not tall enough. He doesn't have enough charisma. And he, doesn't have the right build, like his frame. And I'm like, I'm not disputing any of that. But there is a thing where, like, you look at guys like Daniel Bryan, who's not that much bigger than him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And other guys like a Johnny Gargano and people like that who have been placed in roles where they've wrestled larger guys and been believable. My whole thing with Kushida is I've heard people say, well, Kushida's never wrestled at the top anywhere. And it's like, he spent his whole career in New Japan, guys. Like, he spent his whole career there, and he's only been he's been a loner talent in other companies like What Culture and Ring of Honor and OTT and stuff like that. I mean, how much of a headliner are they going to make him in Ring of Honor when he's a loner guy? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But what they have done is they've made him champ in all these other companies. He's wrestled heavyweights and been nothing if not believable, nothing if not credible, because of his shoot style background, because of the style of wrestling he does, and he is that talented to where he can get the match over, and he can also play, underdog and all that sort of stuff.
Right. I mean, you know how many compelling stories they could do with him being like the underdog heavyweight going in against bigger guys.
Now, do I see them, if let's say they put him in the heavyweight ranks, right? Mm-hmm. Do I see them pushing him all the way to the title? Probably not. But I've seen some people be like, he's so, like, literally they played it down so much so, but like, he's so small that he would, like, they act like he'd be a job guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like a Hanma, or like a Toa Hanare, or like, like that ilk of wrestler. Mm-hmm. And if they wanted to push it and book it that way, sure, they could. But I really don't think he's that caliber star where he would just be getting jobbed by everybody on the roster. The other thing, too, is this. The Young Bucks just went up to heavyweight. They're not that much bigger than him. There are guys who have bigger frames than him that are at heavyweight, like, say, Tanahashi and Ishii and stuff like that. And Ospreay. But I've heard people be like, well, the thing with him is he's a lot smaller than everybody in New Japan, in the heavyweight scene. So he'd be tiny there. And I'm like, well, he's going to go over to the land of giants now. And, like, sure, they don't always have this gap, this weight class gap in all cases. But, again, he is small. And then now he's also Asian. And now he also doesn't speak English. And that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He has more going against him in this other country where the height, muscle, and weight gap in a company that is almost purely about cosmetics. He's got more going against him in this other company, and people are like, it's the right move. And I'm like, in New Japan, I feel like there's more upside for him in the heavyweight ranks. And so I have to imagine one of a few things happened. We don't know for sure, but either this was his dream and he wanted to go to the West, mm-hmm. which is totally possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kushida, it's been known that he's a big fan of Western culture. Obviously, Back to the Future is his favorite movie.
Sure.
He's always one of the first guys to raise his hand to go over to Ring of Honor when they need guys for Ring of Honor shows. So it could possibly be he's one of those guys that wants to do more stuff in the West.
I don't doubt that at all. And if this is his dream and what he wants to achieve, all the more power to him. But for years, I've heard him in commentary and in backstage interviews say he wanted to go to heavyweight.
Right.
Part of me believes there's truth to that. I think anyone who is a junior wants to move up to heavyweight and potentially work bigger programs with more talented wrestlers and make more money. I mean, you've got to imagine that's what everybody wants. So either he wanted to go to the West, or New Japan didn't want to push him to heavyweight, or he maybe for some weird reason that's not what he wanted. But I think that's the least likely scenario. I think either they were like, we don't have anything, this creative has nothing for you.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, if creative, I have to make the best decision I can. But I got to tell you, I still think it's a mistake because I've seen this guy wrestle heavyweights and be so credible even as a smaller guy because of the style of wrestling he does. So I'm saying all that to say this. For every argument that people make about Kushida in New Japan being pushed as a heavyweight, right? All the arguments about his height, about his frame, and about his charisma. Is he going to have a better shot in a foreign country where they put almost little to no emphasis on the actual in-ring talent? Not that they don't have talented workers, but it's like thirdly. It's not even secondary. It's like thirdly, where those things that they talked about, height, muscular frame, charisma, are the main things. Mm-hmm. And he's lacking in all three of those. And he's Asian, and he doesn't speak English. How likely is it that he's going to be a star in that company?
Yeah, I mean, the chances are slim. So, honestly, I mean, like, NXT is probably going to be his best bet because, NXT, they do care about the in-ring quality. We see that from all the takeovers. He can have some amazing matches with a lot of the guys there. But you talk about the main roster. I mean, you could put him on 205 Live with the other cruiserweights. He could be the star of that brand, but not many people watch 205.
What's a star of 205 Live? Like,
all right, that's what I'm saying. Like, not many people watch 205 Live. You're gonna get matches on the pre-show. Lucky if you get a pay-per-view match. Like,
I mean, I think on 205 Live, and I'm not disparaging it. I know they've got excellent wrestling. I know they do, but like the true stars, like guys that have been stars, are like what? Neville, Enzo Amore. Is that about it?
pretty much. I mean, well, you got Mustafa Ali now,
I don't even really count him because he blew up after like 205 Live. I mean, yes, he was getting hot in there, but like he got hot
on SmackDown.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, like we need to get him off 205 Live because it's a graveyard, basically.
Yeah,
you know. But then you look at the amount of talent that is there. The guys that are there, and they've got Mascara Dorada, they've got Buddy Murphy, they've got
Cedric Alexander, Leo Rush,
Kenta, so many guys, like so many guys, and they're not doing anything.
Right.
And I also wonder about NXT because here's the thing, because you and I talked about this before the show, and it was like, well, the one like Japanese talent. Well, like there's two. The two Japanese talent that like really got over and made a transition to the main roster and stuff was like Asuka and Shinsuke Nakamura. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they didn't speak English was a big deal when they went to the main roster. It's a huge deal, and they pretty much subsisted and got over strictly off of charisma,
right, and just match quality.
And obviously the match quality, but especially on the main roster, it's like almost they haven't even really given them that many opportunities to like really show what they can do or work. So it's like almost all charisma. I just don't see, and I'm not trying to be a bummer, but I just don't see how this is better in terms of like his career prospects. Now it might be better like financially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it might be a way for him to expand and grow and maybe if it doesn't work out, he could always hypothetically, I guess, come back. I think one thing though is like maybe he better hope that they do an NXT Japan. Right. and build around him because
you gotta look too at just the history of how WWE has
treated Japanese
promoted their Japanese talent. I mean, you can go think of your Tajiris, your Takamichi Nohus, your Funakis,
Mr. Fuji,
these
Pat Tanaka, like all these guys, like have any of them Kenzo Suzuki, Hakushi.
Yeah. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura is probably one of the better push ones.
He's one of the better push ones. You know what? I said this the other day, and Rich got mad, and I think it's totally true though. I think that they did a better job making Tajiri a star than they have Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. It's interesting to be. I mean, Nakamura did win the Royal Rumble.
So Lex Luger.
I went to WrestleMania.
So Lex Luger. And does anyone remember that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are guys who to me, like, his, as great as that Royal Rumble was, his Royal Rumble, like, win and going to WrestleMania is, like, closer to, like, Sheamus winning than it is, like, John Cena winning.
Yeah.
You know? Especially since he didn't win the title, especially since they jobbed him to Jinder all those times and all this stuff. It just does, to me, Nakamura, and this isn't just me being a fanboy, it's just me being a fan, like, he's not anywhere close to being what the most over he has ever been in that company was the first night he showed up on the main roster. Since that time, he's never even come close to being as over as he was the first night they brought him on.
Yeah.
He was a star in NXT.
Yeah. I mean, he was NXT champion. I mean, headlining all those tours.
Yeah, he was a star there. Mm-hmm. But even with that, I just don't see them doing with Kushida what they did with Nakamura in NXT. I think he's going to be closer to what they've done with Tozawa and closer to what they've done with Kenta, which is little to nothing.
Yeah.
And they're both still there, and they're two of the like best Japanese talent. You know, thank God Kota Ibushi didn't sign with this company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if I'm wrong, like, great. Like I if I'm wrong, like I hope I am wrong. I hope that Kushida thrives there, and I hope we get to see him and Kyle O'Reilly run it back and all this stuff. But I just don't know what they're gonna actually do with him.
Right. I mean, and I am a fan of Kushida, and I do hope he does have a good career in WWE. It's just there's going to be some challenges.
And there's so many guys.
Yeah.
There's more guys in NXT. They've got like all of Ring of Honor and all of PWG. And
right.
like all of Evolve.
Yeah.
And it's like, not that they wouldn't use Kushida, but I feel like, I mean, what if Kushida goes there and like we go to Largo and he's like working security for a year, like
teaching him how to work.
Yeah, like what, oh my god.
And but there's so many. I mean, and there's only 5 takeover matches. Like, not everybody gets a takeover match. Like,
I mean, with the fact that there's an NXT UK, he could possibly even work that. So that's an option. Mm-hmm. And also that might even be smart since he's known by the UK audience.
Yeah.
I do wonder how many like NXT fans are really gonna know Kushida off the bat the way they knew Nakamura. I don't know if he's as well. I mean, obviously, I think there'll be some buzz, but I don't think he'll be. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there's gonna be this big pop. Like,
I feel with all the buzz of him in the news lately, I think there might be, depending on when he debuts, there could be a pop for him.
Was there a huge pop when Keith Lee showed up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean. Paint a scenario? Do you see a scenario where he has a successful career in WWE? Because I really can't picture it. That's my problem. I just can't see that. I see like has a great career in NXT. I don't see a single scenario in WWE.
Yeah, when it comes to the main roster, it's like I have no idea what they would do with him. Like NXT, I think he'll be fine. I could see him being like North American champion, having great takeover matches, but after that, he gets a Raw and SmackDown. It's like
I'm worried about the racist like stereotypes and the gimmicks that they're gonna strap on this.
Like, man. Are they gonna show him in a tag team with Tozawa and just?
Who knows, man? Yeah. Who knows? Like this could be bad.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a bummer. But I mean, like we said, I hope he does end up having a great career. Next question comes from Reddit user Jar of Peanuts. When will my boy Zack Sabre Jr. win a major title, and what do you think his ceiling is in the company? I'm hoping he beats Naito again for the IC title, but I wonder if him and Suzuki are going to focus on the tag division for a while.
Well, I think that Zack Sabre could maybe at one point win the IWGP title. That's how credible I think he is. I don't know if he ever will win that belt. It's possible, but I think that's his ceiling. If you want to know what I think Zack Sabre's ceiling is, that's the ceiling. Whether he bumps up against that ceiling is yet to be seen, but based on the 2018 he had, that's his ceiling to me.
Yeah, they did a great job of making Sabre a credible main event act. I mean, the way that he tore through the New Japan Cup, his G1 performances, like this guy... They made him a legit main eventer, and I agree with you. I definitely think he could be the IWGP champion. And with guys like Kenny gone, they're gonna need other Gaijins to push. I mean, obviously Jay White is the main Gaijin they're probably going with in the heavyweight title picture, but Sabre's another guy that they can get a title shot or even put the belt on. But I do think I can see Sabre winning gold this year. Whether that is, like you mentioned, Jars of Peanut, the IC title from Naito. I mean, who knows? Him and Suzuki could beat Evil and Sonata come New Beginning.
It's definitely a possibility. I'm excited for that match. I love Suzuki-gun teaming up with Zack Sabre and Suzuki, so I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the in stereo Zack Driver and Gotch Pile Driver is a thing of beauty.
I don't know if Naito's going to lose the IC title to Zack Sabre or not. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I start feeling like Taichi really is going to lift this belt. People think I'm crazy, but I'm...
No, I get the feeling if Taichi wins, I honestly wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, but I don't know if they're going to move Zack Sabre into another program with Naito. That's the thing. Going into 2019, everything is so wide open right now. I have no idea what we know like what a few of the programs for New Beginning is.
Mm-hmm. But after that,
yeah, and a lot of guys are not on these like upcoming tours. Things are just very, very wide open. It's hard to predict anything, but I think sky's the limit for Zack Sabre. Will he ever be ace of the company? No. Do I think Zack Sabre will ever be like a top 4 guy in New Japan? Personally, unless something really changes, no, I don't. I don't see him being a pillar. But do I see him being in that Suzuki, like just outside top 5 potential IWGP title run at some point in his career? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I agree with you. So next question comes from Reddit user TL Care Bear 14. He has 3 questions.
Or she, you don't know.
Or yeah, he or she. Sorry. The bear has 3 questions. First question: will 2020 see the beginning of a transition from Suzuki-gun to Sabre-gun?
What do you say?
Dude, I mean, we're having a hard time predicting 2019. 2020, like
I'll tell you right now, no, and also I really think that would be a big mistake.
Yeah, a lot of people want this Sabre-gun thing to pop off.
It's fantasy booking in my mind. I know that it's one of those weird things that like fans just like latch onto, and they're teasing it, and I'm like, I don't see them teasing it. Also, if they ever did do a split, I know people don't want to. I know people really like Zack, and people love the idea of Sabre-gun because Sabre-gun kind of like flows right
off the tongue. Yeah,
it's right off the tongue, and it sounds kind of bad, right?
Yeah.
But dude, who wants to see Minoru Suzuki as this underdog
baby
face? And yeah, who wants to see him in the Makabe post GBH role?
Yeah.
I know I don't. Why would you take literally the greatest heel in the company and like turn him into a baby face to get over Zack, who, in all honesty, Zack's a great heel, he's a great face. Suzuki is probably a really good face when he wants to be, but he's like an all-time great, like Hall of Fame level heel.
Right. So I mean, it would make more sense for them to oust Zack out of the group.
It would make so much sense for Zack to maybe start staging a coup. This is the way. If I was booking the territory, Zack starts to like kind of usurp his authority. People start to kind of respect him, sort of like The Rock, you know,
the Nation.
In the Nation.
Yeah.
And Suzuki is too smart for this sort of stuff.
Suzuki ain't known for Farouk.
Yeah, Suzuki's not Farouk, man. Like he's not gonna get ousted by everybody. Plus, like who wants to smoke with Suzuki? I mean, you're not gonna backstab Suzuki. They maybe Sabre thinks maybe it's like when Evolution kicked out Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Very similar
perfect.
to that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
And then here's the thing: if you guys have never seen Sabre's babyface underdog role work.
It's great.
It's great. I feel like a match between Suzuki and Sabre with Sabre's a much more natural babyface to Suzuki's heel. Like, yes, he could be the avenging anti-hero if need be, but if Sabre's the heel and he's the avenging babyface, he's probably going to lose to Sabre and maybe do that at the end of his run. But that just seems like a terrible way to put Suzuki out. If I'm New Japan and I want to get the most money out of Suzuki I possibly can, and remember, it's a business. He's a heel till the day he retires. He never stops being a heel. He never stops like jumping people,
being evil.
If Sabre-gun becomes a thing, it's only because Suzuki appoints him and decides to like retire.
Right.
That's the only way I see Sabre-gun. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking I sound like an idiot, but think about it. What kind of business sense would it make to turn Suzuki into a baby face?
I would never turn Suzuki babyface.
I would never do that. Now, I think Sabre has more upside if you get him ousted, and then he has he
runs through Suzuki-gun.
Like, he has to run through the gauntlet like he's Bruce Lee in Game of Death. Like that makes more sense.
He wrestles Tai Chi. He wrestles, Kanemaru Desperado.
And then he has to basically show his technical acumen, how he's evolved past the rudimentary, like vicious levels of submission grappling that Minoru Suzuki holds, and then Minoru Suzuki starts torturing him and using his vicious strikes, and then Sabre has to work from underneath. I mean, it's a story that writes itself. There's more money in that.
Yeah.
But Sabre being this heel leader, come on, like Saber? Have you guys seen Saber? You think Saber's gonna run Suzuki-gun? You think Taichi's gonna listen to Zack Saber Jr.?
You think Dave Boy Smith and Lance Archer
are gonna listen to Zack Saber? Come on, guys. Come on, get real. The only way this happens is if like everyone in Suzuki-gun leaves, and then a whole group of other like jabrones joins, and they're like, "Oh, we'll follow you." Like, who's gonna? I would not follow Zack Saber if I was in that group. I would follow Suzuki.
Exactly.
So no. I gotta tell you, I'm sorry, TL Care Bear 14. I really, really am opposed to this idea. I don't think it's happening.
Next question the Bear asks: early New Japan Cup predictions.
It sounds like we're having it over 2 nights, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't have an early New Japan Cup prediction.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I mean, it'd be easier if we kind of knew who was in the thing, but. Last year they went with Saber and pushed him. The
only prediction I have, I think a top 4 guy is winning this.
So either Naito, Okada,
or maybe
Jay White.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be one of those types of guys. Like, it could even be a Kota Ibushi. It could even be a Kenny Omega. Those are the types of guys that...
So you don't I think a guy like a Sonata or Evil have a chance this year?
The reality is whoever's winning the New Japan Cup this year is most likely headlining Madison Square Garden.
True.
There's no Sakura Genesis. There's no invasion attack. So it would appear that the winner of the New Japan Cup, if they challenge for the IWGP title... Now, if they pull some bullcrap
and have him challenge
for like the
IC or never or something,
then, and you know what? With the way they booked these past 2 tag tournaments in 2018, you just never know.
Right? Yeah.
You just never know. But if someone wins this tournament and challenges for the IWGP title, which they should be in kayfabe, why would you ever challenge for the other titles unless you have a real reason?
Right.
They're probably gonna headline Madison Square Garden. With that being said, it's got to be like a Tanahashi. It's got to be Okada, Naito, Jay White, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi. It's got to be like one of those 6 guys, really.
Yeah, I don't have any other insight on that. But
that's my only insight. That's like my educated guess right now.
Yeah,
I think
that's a great thing to think about the MSG show coming right afterwards.
Yeah, I think in years past, a Sonata would make sense, and Evil would make sense, and Zack Saber and all that. That all makes sense, but not for the Garden. You know what I mean? WrestleMania weekend, no way.
Yeah. And the last question that TL Care Bear 14 has. What tag teams, both heavy and junior, will join New Japan or form within the roster?
I have no clue.
I can't even think of any like free agent tag teams that are like hot right now that you would bring in. I mean, we've thrown around...
We've named a few, but a lot of them are people that are in shared companies, like shared talent.
Right. I mean, we've mentioned like Pentagon and Phoenix, bringing them in. I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen either. But I mean, a dream scenario.
Yeah.
But as far as teams forming, I really can't. Right now, I'm not really seeing.
I would love if they were to hypothetically bring in. I don't know. I wish that New Japan would bring in some more freelance talent from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to see like Strong BJ or like the Twin Towers or like some of these All Japan teams or something like that like show up. That would be dope. So that's something I think would be cool, possibly. I mean, I don't know. Well, we've got that the Giant Baba Memorial show coming up, and pretty much all the talent's working together. So who knows what kind of like relationships might be rekindled or forged out of that. So I don't know, but I gotta tell you, I really don't have a good. Do you want to make a tag team? Do you want to make a tag team?
Yeah, so putting together 2 guys. Trying to think.
Let's do this. You give me one heavyweight, and I'll tell you someone that they should tag with, and then I'll give you a junior, and then you tell me someone they should tag with.
Okay. Goto.
Toa Hanare. That would be a cool team.
That's an interesting little combo.
Goto and Toa Henare, they'd freaking murder everybody.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. Okay, juniors. It's tougher. It feels like everyone's like aligned, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah. Are there any non-stable, any Sekigun juniors?
Shota Umino.
I guess, why not tag him with another? Put him with Narita.
Yeah, there you go. So those are two teams right there. Keeping It Strong Style. The ASA podcast.
Next question comes from Reddit user They Call Me Dooley. What should New Japan do with Yoshihashi? Should they keep him in his current role as the fall guy for Chaos, or do you think he's good enough for an eventual title win?
They Call Me Dooley. I feel like you have not been listening to the show for a long period of time, because if you have been listening, I mean, I guess in all fairness, I haven't talked about Yoshihashi in a while just because he's been a non-factor, but and I know, like, for instance, Mr. ACP loves tacos, and like there's other Reddit users and listeners that love him, but for me personally, I have no use for Yoshihashi. I know that he's capable of having good matches. He's a utility guy, but to me, he's like swaggerless.
Yeah, I mean,
really swaggerless.
If I'm Ghetto and I'm booking, I would keep Yoshihashi right where he's at. In that,
I would cut him.
Damn. I think he's worth having around for match quality. He's a good hand. I would keep him in Chaos and keep him as a fall guy. But personally,
But Jeremy, there's a lot of good hands with more charisma, better looks. Like, I can't stand Yoshihashi. I mean, I can't stand him.
I mean, I don't know. I would keep a title. I wouldn't put a title.
And this is pure bias.
Yeah.
Like, this is pure bias. Like, it's unashamed bias.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I don't like him.
I wouldn't put a title on him though.
It's one of the things I praise New Japan for, that this man's never even sniffed gold. This company has mad credibility with me because of that very reason.
Yeah.
So he could win a title at some point, though. I guess
he could, but
it'd be like the never 6-man trios. Like, that's a title I could see him winning, but like no.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Reddit user Undoubtedly Dean. Do you think the upcoming London show will essentially be another Rev Pro show featuring New Japan, or do you think the UK will see a full-on New Japan style event this time around?
That one I really couldn't speak to specifically, because it would seem foolish to have a New Japan show in the UK and not utilize the Rev Pro talent. But I'll say this, you guys are already getting better shows for the most part than a lot of the lineups with like Ring of Honor and stuff like that, and even some of the US shows. So, but this one is in a pretty good like venue, so I wouldn't be surprised if like it's a more leaning towards being a New Japan show featuring Rev Pro as opposed to like
Rev Pro featuring New Japan.
Yeah, or like a combined
Yeah,
show.
I agree with you. And the way that it was announced with all those big shows, I definitely feel like you're going to get a more New Japan style show. You're going to get a New Japan ring, and a lot of the top guys will be featured on top of that card.
Yep.
Next question comes from one of your favorite guys, Twitter user at 91 reasons _ you lose, the guy who said that you get more annoying every week.
Oh, I thought that was NJPW, Mark.
That's him.
Oh, gotcha.
It says, personal feelings aside, can you see Ghetto and New Japan?
Why we got to put our personal feelings aside? You made it personal last week, sir.
He says, personal feelings aside, can you see Gato and New Japan making Ospreay their top heavyweight gaijin and running with the IWGP heavyweight title someday?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, right now, Jay White's the kind of top gaijin guy they're pushing, but With this whole new like strong style never run for Ospreay, it could be a launching pad for the future for him being the top guy and possibly winning the IWGP Heavyweight title.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's possible that he could be their top heavyweight gaijin. Someday, possibly, absolutely. I mean, mainly I say that just because Ospreay is one of the most talented workers in the entire world. I mean, maybe one of the top workers of all time.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, if he doesn't like eventually get pushed to that level and he stays in like a Kota Ibushi type role, I wouldn't be surprised. I think part of the reason why I'm saying yes, though, is because Will Ospreay is very loyal and dedicated to New Japan. He's had opportunities to go outside of this company on several occasions in the past, and he's turned all those offers down. At this point, him and his partner Bea Priestley, they're talking about moving to New Japan or to Japan and making that their full-time situation. So yeah, and I think that goes a long way with them potentially looking at him as a big star like that. Obviously, the push he just got against Kota Ibushi in the Tokyo Dome, you know, whatever happens going forward. My only thing is Ospreay, where Ospreay excels in ring, he does, and he's changing it, but he doesn't have, and I know you don't want me to bring up Jay White, but to kind of give you a comparison, he's not the complete performer that Jay White is in the sense of character work, promos, backstage stuff. Mm-hmm. And some of that really does make a big difference in New Japan.
Well, I'd say, like, you know,
but he's improving those things.
Right. And I feel like because he's been in the junior division, they really haven't focused on developing a character for him.
That's a great point, because he's got that stigma still attached to him. You can't bring him up like day one. Well, I want to say you can't, but like they kind of did that with Misawa and it worked. They did that with Misawa, but I guess they made him, and then it took a while. It took a few years, but still, he does have that junior stigma still about him. I mean, it would be kind of crazy if they like brought him up and then the next, you know, within 4 months he's getting a title shot.
Yeah.
Who knows? What if he were to win the New Japan Cup? Is that possible? Well, he probably won't be in it because he's never champion.
Right, unless he has a defense between...
Well, he had a defense the other day.
What do you mean?
In Rev Pro, he defended the title against Chris Ridgway.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or Chris Brooks, one of the two.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but if he somehow drops the belt between now and New Japan Cup, yeah, he could possibly win.
Do you think that they'd push him as a heavyweight ace, like a face gaijin, or would he need to turn heel?
I think he could be babyface.
You think so?
Put in that Kenny Omega type of role.
Yeah, that's possible. Except for like Kenny was a heel first and had that whole heel run to kind of be a, you know, platform or like a foundation for his character. I mean, I don't know if that hadn't existed, if we would have got, you know, the Golden Lovers Kenny that we got the last few months. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, but I mean, yeah, I could see Ospreay being the top gaijin. I just don't know when or how. I mean, I'm not Gato. I'm not a great booker, so I wouldn't know.
Then he had one more question. He says, also, do you think Sho has the frame to be a successful heavyweight? I feel like he might be a little short, but he's definitely got the body type. He can put on another 10 pounds of muscle and be a force.
I agree, but I feel like they won't unless like their culture or their traditions change, because he's pretty small still.
Right.
I mean, you compare him to like Tanahashi and guys like that who are also like shorter, and he's pretty short compared to them. He's not that much difference in size to Kushida.
Yeah.
And he's very muscular.
Yeah, he's jacked. I mean,
he's very muscular, but he's short. And in this company, that does matter. I would love to see him wrestle at heavyweight and get that run, but I don't know if they're going to do it or not.
Yeah. Next question comes from Reddit user Dookie Hammer. With so many of your listeners being Elite fans, will you guys be switching to an AEW podcast when they stop watching New Japan?
When who stops watching New Japan?
I guess our listeners. And it's funny because I remember a while ago when speculation of the Elite first leaving New Japan came. You asked me, you were like, dude, if the Elite leave New Japan, or do you still want to do this podcast?
And just so we're clear, guys, it wasn't me saying, do we still want to do the podcast? I was asking Jeremy if he specifically wanted to continue to do the podcast with me.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is a New Japan podcast. Like, I am an Elite mark, but I'm not going to stop doing Keeping It Strong Style because the Elite's gone. And now they are gone, and I plan on continuing this show. We're a New Japan podcast. There are still plenty of great wrestlers in New Japan. There's tons of people in New Japan Reddit, and still there's a New Japan audience for this show to reach. And honestly, I don't know 100% sure if majority of our listeners are Elite fans. Honestly, I don't know if that's
I don't know if that is the case.
I don't know if that's a true statement or not.
So when we were in Chicago late night, we met up with some of the Voices of Wrestling guys and went to one of the meetups at some gaming place. And we met up with a good friend of the show, Esteban, who, if you guys don't know Esteban, he's like the president of the unofficial New Japan fan club.
In North America.
In North America, yeah. It's something that he's put a lot of time, a lot of effort into, a lot of financial resources, and something he's passionate about. And, we talked to him, about trying to help out with those efforts as well. But when we were talking to him, one thing he said was that the perception of a lot of the New Japan, like, brass and a lot of the New Japan, like, the office is that over here overseas, we're not necessarily New Japan fans, but we're all Bullet Club fans or like Elite fans.
Right.
And so when he was trying to like kind of lobby to them or petition that the North American, fan club should be official and get some of the same types of, privileges that the Japanese fan club gets, which I'm all for. I think that's excellent. Their kind of thing was like, well, are they even really fans of the product? Or are they just fans of personalities? And like, if do they just like the Bullet Club?
Right, yeah.
And I think we're gonna find out the answer to that very soon. Find out how many people that got turned onto this product are still, loyal New Japan fans or fans of the workers that are in Japan, or were they just fans of the Bullet Club or fans of the Elite? And I'm not saying that as a disparaging thing. Because you're a fan of what you're a fan of, and if you like the Elite and they were here and now they're gone and there's a new company, that's great, whatever. But for me, I'm a diehard New Japan fan. Mm-hmm. Like, this is all I pretty much freaking watch. This is like what Jeremy primarily watches. Our show. We talked the other day, we're like, how much longer are we even going to talk about AEW?
Right, because, at this point, these guys they've pretty much lost their connection to New Japan, and, we talked like, how much longer do we cover these guys on this show?
As things are obviously very fresh, very new, we're going to talk a lot about AEW here towards the end of the show, but, the thing with them is, everything's changing. Everything is very speculative. We don't know all the details yet. And if the Elite are able to work out some sort of deal where they keep working in conjunction with New Japan, we'll keep talking about them. And we would love to. We like those guys.
Right.
But if it turns out, like, in a month that they're not part of this and their company has nothing to do with this, we like NXT. We don't talk about NXT on this show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We like indie wrestling. If you guys catch... the last episode of Grown Men Watch This Shit, I was on that show. We talked in depth about CMLL, UK Indies, North American Indies, everything that's been going on in the world of wrestling in 2018. We did not even talk about New Japan. It was cool because it was stuff that I don't get to talk about on this show. Mm-hmm. So the truth of the matter is, no, we are not going to be covering AEW unless there's a connection. Now, that being said, Social Suplex.
Right. I'm also say I'm sure that One Nation Radio will probably cover AEW.
Someone is going to be covering AEW on this network.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, there's going to be coverage of it. It's going to help our product, and what we cover. And I'm sure that there's we've got like 3 WWE shows. And I'm sure they would love to
switch
to switch and cover something else. So yeah.
Another AEW question. Twitter user @AxSife. Your thoughts on AEW? How do you imagine a cooperation between them and New Japan?
The next question after that is also Captain Jellicoe. Is AEW diluting the business? And I think that both of those questions are great questions. And I think it's a great way to segue into the news. Mm-hmm. And we should address those questions, but we should also talk about, you know, the $1 million elephant in the room, which is All Elite Wrestling, the All Elite Wrestling Rally, all the news that we've heard, everything that we know. Like we should definitely talk about this.
Yeah. So, you know, last Tuesday in Jacksonville, Florida, at the TIAA Bank Stadium, they had their All Elite Rally, their press conference to make some announcements. So, you know, they officially announced Double or Nothing. May 25th, Memorial Day weekend in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. There were several talent announcements. SCU came out and said they officially signed. You had Pac come out in his gear to confront Hangman Page. You had MJF coming out and being attacked by Joey Janela and Penelope Ford. You had, you know, Cody and the Bucks announcing that they are, you know, all 3 of them are executive vice presidents of the company. Brandy Rhodes announcing herself as the chief brand officer, and she had some comments about, you know, the pay gap between men and women in the company.
No, she said they're all getting paid the same amount. She said every single talent in the company is going to be paid the exact same amount of money, which is great. That's how wrestling should be. Everybody, flat $50K. That's what you make. Period. That's what it's going to be.
No, that's not.
Jericho, $50K. Jeremy Donovan, $50K.
I'll take that, but no, but that's not what's obviously
that's what they meant.
Britt
Baker, $50K. Everybody's making.
No, that's not what Brandy meant, and she clarified that on Twitter.
But that's what everyone thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh, Jericho and Britt Baker are going to be making the same amount of money."
I literally feel like to address that. Either. Okay, I'm gonna throw out some scenarios, and I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to be mean. If you fall into these scenarios, this is on you. Either you're really, really, really smart, and you knew that that's not what she meant, but you complained about it anyways, because you either A, didn't like the fallacy or the logic of the way that she worded it. Which, if that's you, that's fine. But at the same time, you probably understood, if you're a smart person, she was not saying that every worker is going to be paid the exact same amount of money. That would be idiotic. The second thing, if you were smart and you also understood what she was saying, maybe you're a Fed defense squatter and you're just looking for something to complain about and something to poke holes about, and so you're just going to get on your soapbox and rant against this. But the truth is, if you were just like kind of reasonable, you probably thought to yourself, oh, she probably just misspoke, and what she means is they're going to make it more fair for the way that they pay talent. The other thing is, if you really thought that they were saying that every person in the company is getting paid the same amount, then you were dumb. Like, do you really think that that is what she was saying? So it's like either you're a troll, or you just weren't thinking, or something, like, you know, because I think most people who heard what she was saying, you know, men and women are going to get paid equal. It just means that they're going to pay fairly amongst the talent. Right.
There's not going to be a huge discrepancy between what a man makes and what a woman makes.
Now, we talked actually in length. You guys can actually catch us. We were on The Outsider's Edge this past week, which is also one of the shows on our network. We got to sit down with Rance Morris and Kyle Morris and kind of talk about this at length, and we kind of discussed, you know, that there are some things that are kind of problematic with how she presented that and how she kind of worded it, and I'll give you that. But yeah, I think that was one of those controversies that wasn't even really a controversy. It's just people who are sour about, you know, they're in their feels because AEW is real and it's happening, and they don't want it to be. Just like they didn't want All In to be happening.
Right. And also, they announced that they'll be doing a show in Jacksonville where the proceeds will go to victims of gun violence. One of the biggest announcements, Chris Jericho came out at the end announcing that he had signed with All Elite Wrestling, that they're planning to take over to change the universe.
Couple things too. You had mentioned Pac coming out in his gear, which I just want to say that confirms a long-standing theory that we have had since the 205 Live days, that this is his gimmick.
Yes.
The gimmick is this man does not own regular clothes. He only wears wrestling gear.
Dude, I'm telling you, he had a match in Dragon Gate, didn't even take a shower, straight out of the ring, hopped on a plane to Jacksonville and showed up to the rally.
And they're like, "Oh, Pac's here." Yeah.
Nobody even asked a question. They're like, "Oh, hey."
Nobody thought that this was strange whatsoever. That everyone else is in suits or in their street clothes. Pac comes in his gear. He's got tassels on his arm.
With the belt.
His hair's wet. His hair's all wet. He comes in with the belt like. This man, he's got kick pads on, ladies and gentlemen.
This man was ready to run it right there in the rally.
He wanted the smoke. He was all about it.
He was about to defend the belt, 24/7 rule. There you go, Ricky. Pac's about to bring back the 24/7 rule, the Dragon Gate belt.
So, when he first came back and he was doing, the King of the Cruiserweights gimmick, the first week after he had beef with who was it?
Rich Swann. Yeah.
Then he did an interview the next week, and when they went to interview him in the back, he was just in his gear backstage, and it's like, why are you in your gear right now? And then every week he was always just in his gear. I never saw anyone on Twitter talk about this. I never saw it was just our friend.
Well, yeah, we talked about it all the time.
Rich and James were like, why is this man always in his gear? This man never has regular clothes on.
Yeah.
He's
and not even a shirt or nothing, dude. Straight up in the gear, ready to run it at any time.
He's got armbands. He's got freaking kick pads on. His hair's always wet. That is his gimmick. And now it's been confirmed, because it's still persisting to this day. This man showed up to a press conference in his gear.
Yes.
Do you know how absurd this is? I love it.
Oh my god,
I love it. So, yeah, I was at work watching this. I thought all the announcements were very interesting. A couple things that you hadn't mentioned that I'll just touch on. They announced a partnership with the Chinese group OWE.
Oh yeah, Shima's group.
Shima's group with they're the Strong Hearts, which apparently, I've seen a lot of that talent like T-Hawk and. Shima and them, but apparently they've picked up some Chinese.
Dude, I've been seeing the gifs of these dudes, man, and they're wild.
They're doing incredible stuff.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
It's like watching a kung fu movie in a ring.
Dude, I love kung fu movies. It's one of my favorite movie genres. So.
Dude, these guys are crazy.
We still haven't seen Bloodsport, but we'll get to that.
Well, eventually.
Even though that's not
2019 New Year's resolution. Watch Bloodsport.
Oh my god. But yeah, that was a big announcement. Also very interesting because Pac is the Dragon Gate champion, and he showed up with the belt, and Shima and them split off from Dragon Gate, and there's been a lot of heat between OWE and Dragon Gate, and they're on the same press conference, the titles being displayed. Very, very interesting stuff. Also, when Brandy came out, she mentioned with the women's division, they announced Britt Baker as the first woman signee, but they also mentioned signing and trying to acquire international talent from Canada, the UK, but they said they're going to be sitting down with Japanese talent. So they didn't come out and say it, but it almost sounded like they were alluding to a potential partnership with maybe some of the companies over there. Obviously, aside from just the press conference, we learned a lot from the Observer this past week as well. What were some of the details that came out there?
About
just everything. I know Tony Khan also did an interview.
Yeah, Tony Khan was on Xbox podcast and just kind of talking about his love for wrestling, and just kind of how he's going to plan on being hands on and involved in this thing.
He's a mark.
Yes,
he's a mark.
Yes, he's us with money.
Yeah, he was talking about being at the ECW arena back in the 90s, traveling to Rev Pro shows and like all these different things.
But yeah, I mean, the Observer, it goes into big details. Chris Harrington from
Chris Harrington got hired by them.
Yeah, Mookie Ghana from WrestleNomics on Voice of Wrestling Network. He's now going to be doing their finances and business.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I go on chrisharrington.com every day. Like, for years. Every day I use chrisharrington.com because I'm a stats nerd and I'm always like... And he just has so many lists compiled. You can find so much crap on his webpage. And, you know, like, for years, I was going on chrisharrington.com and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know, like, about WrestleNomics or any of that stuff. I was just like, oh, yeah, chrisharrington.com. Like, crazy. And this guy got hired by AEW. Like, yo, AEW. Like, your boys. Hey, for that earlier question about whether or not we would do an AEW podcast, we would definitely do an AEW podcast.
If we're going to get some of that con money.
If they're going to CTC.
Cut the check.
Cut that check. That con money though.
Yes. Also, you know, Pro Wrestling Tees, they're going to be a big part of the merchandise. They already got merchandise. It's already a top selling thing on the site. My shirt's on the way. There's expected.
Oh, you bought an AEW shirt?
I sure did. There's expected to be one more executive vice president added to the senior management. Young Bucks and Cody, they've signed 3-year contracts with options on years 4 and 5.
Yes, that's what I was kind of wondering about. I was remembering that they mentioned this stuff in the Observer, like what their contracts were like, what some of the contracts of the other talent were looking like, and also some of the partnerships that they were pursuing.
And it says, so the contracts make them exclusive to AEW worldwide. Although if AEW was to make deals with other promotion, whether it be New Japan, Revolution Pro, OTT, or others, that does not preclude them from working there. Kind of already mentioned all the guys that showed up at the all the wrestlers that showed up. You know, Jericho, he was on Busted Open Radio, and he said, you know, he wouldn't have signed with All Elite Wrestling if there wasn't a serious, you know, TV deal in the works.
Right.
And, you know, with his contract, he's still going to be able to do his Jericho cruise. And you got to imagine that instead of Ring of Honor, it'll be All Elite that will be providing talent for the Jericho Cruise this year.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think he has autonomy to run the cruise how he wants.
Right.
Maybe we don't know that, but like, what if he decided, I want to have NXT be there? Like, how crazy could that be? Like, I think if with it being his cruise, he could do whatever he wants.
Right, but it'd probably make more sense for him just to use.
Oh, I'm just saying, but it's 2019. Yeah. Anything can happen.
So Joey Janela, Penelope Ford, and MJF are signed, but they are not exclusive. Janela and Ford's deals allow them to work co-promoted events. MJF, he has a 2-year deal with MLW. Court Bauer has been in contact with AEW and doesn't expect any problems. And MJF will, you know, as of right now, be able to work for both promotions. Already mentioned Double or Nothing 2. Starcast 2 will be a part of Double or Nothing.
Yeah, they had Conrad Thompson being one of the MCs and involved. I don't know what his involvement with the company going forward will be, but it almost seemed like he will be involved with the company, possibly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, those are some of the kind of major...
So to kind of elaborate on that, you know, basically, some guys, from what Dave has said and what some of the reports that have come out, some guys are going to be signed to literally exclusive, like, contracts. Mm-hmm. Then other talent are going to be allowed to do particular things depending on their situation. So it's not like everyone is going to have a blanket contract. The contracts are going to be case by case, scenario by scenario. Like you said, Joey Janela is still going to be able to do his spring breaks, and who knows what else he'll be allowed to do with GCW or even maybe WWN. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho is going to be allowed to do the cruise. He also put out a tweet saying, basically alluding to the idea that he's still going to be able to do New Japan. Whether that's true or not, we don't have it 100% confirmed, but it is looking very, very likely like that's the case. Like, he will continue to work New Japan dates.
Yeah.
And he might be the one guy right now who's allowed to do that. which is probably why this contract makes a lot of sense for someone like him, because he can have all his outside projects, work AEW, still do those lucrative shows over in Japan. I mean, this guy's made it.
Yeah. Also, the Observer kind of broke news on what Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, offered these elite guys.
Yeah,
Hangman Page was offered main roster money to work NXT, where he'd be pushed to the top stars. The Bucks and Cody were offered really strong deals. The Bucks were offered money about equal to former WWE champion AJ Styles, which would also have included being the Elite, being made a regular weekly show on the WWE Network, and also having a 6-month window where they could leave during their 3-year contract if they weren't happy with how they were pushed.
Yeah. So, and I think that the reality is they were offered that 6-month gap because if they join the company, right, mm-hmm. and then they're unable to do AEW pretty much falls apart. And so that ensures that they're going to be tied up with WWE for at least 6 months. And then if it's a success and they like it there and they're making money and they're pushed and they continue on, great. But if after 6 months they want out, they can get out. But at that point, there's no AEW to go to. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like they're running defense against the formation of this company is kind of what that clause was there for.
Right. And, those guys were on the phone with, Triple H for like 12 hours and, working really hard to try and make a deal with those guys.
I would too. I mean, if they paid him enough money and gave him the, what they wanted, I mean, who wouldn't go, Yeah. We've talked about it a lot. It is funny. We've talked all year about whether or not these guys would leave. You thought they wouldn't. I thought they would. Neither of us thought that they were going to
start their own promotion.
And in a way, we both were kind of right,
Right.
But they want to stay in New Japan. We just don't know if they're going to be able to going forward.
Right. Clearly, New Japan, they have a working relationship with Ring of Honor. They have Honor Rising coming up. They have MSG coming up.
And you have to wonder what the situation is going to be after that. Like, are they kind of holding off on working with AEW because the MSG show's on the horizon, and maybe after April it's like,
let's revisit things.
Yeah. Or is it true loyalty? Because they have partnered for a long time, and they have seemed invested there. I know that there was, they talked about just days after Wrestle Kingdom, all three parties were going to sit down and talk and figure out how they could potentially work together. The initial reports were, after that meeting, it was a done deal. AEW was cut out. They're not going to work with either company. But then the news kind of broke out in Tokyo Sports that Kenny Omega said he was not going to be re-signing with New Japan. And New Japan officials were pissed because they were not aware of this. They were still negotiating. And then basically that story got broke in the media, and it was not something that was communicated to them.
Yeah.
And so Dave Meltzer basically said that everything is changing suddenly, and it's minute by minute, stuff is changing on a fly. Ring of Honor and New Japan both especially New Japan, want Kenny Omega badly. Like
so
badly. They want him really bad, and obviously Jericho as well. And so those are the two guys where it's like, well, maybe we might be able to work something out. And this is a really long way to get to one of the earlier questions is like, how do you imagine a cooperation between them and New Japan? I think that them working with New Japan is not an issue whatsoever. The issue is Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And so is it possible that they could all work together? It is really difficult because
it's hard because AEW and Ring of Honor are going to be direct competition.
Yeah.
There are two American promotions that are probably going to be running some of the big same cities.
And Ring of Honor is not a company that has shown in recent times to be open to working with other companies. They have a very exclusionary business practice, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way that they do things. Like you're not going to be seeing an Impact Ring of Honor show WrestleMania weekend or anything of that nature.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So that's the issue between them and AEW is like they are direct competitors. But money talks. And Kenny Omega is a big enough star to where people are changing their tune and being like, oh, we're going to lose Kenny? We might be able to work something out, Like, we could lose Jericho. We might be able to work something out.
Hold, come back. Yeah. Sit back down. Let's talk things.
There was even, there's been some teases on being the Elite, that maybe Kenny is got a future potential to sign with this company. There was news that was breaking all week that he got this huge offer from WWE, and then the preliminary reports are that, that he turned down that offer, and so he's not going to be signing with WWE, despite a lot of people thinking it was a done deal and that he was definitely going to be joining the roster. So right now, we don't know what's going to happen. I want to say that the key is Kenny Omega. I think if these two companies have any chance of forming a working relation, at least in the immediate sense, it's all going to come down to Kenny being one of the biggest draws outside of WWE, and neither company wants to lose him. He's a key guy, and I think that if they're going to have a working relationship, then that's really what it comes down to. It's Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny is the key here.
Also, do we think that AEW is diluting the business?
No, I think they're creating a new viable option for guys to make money.
I want to know what he means by diluting the business. Yeah. I wish we had a way to ask him to elaborate exactly what he meant there, because in some ways, yes, they could be.
Right.
In some ways, they could be, but in many other ways, there's so many positives that come out of this. If it winds up being what it's gonna be, then yes.
Yeah, but obviously, they're going to be taking guys off the already dry independent scene. So yes, like the independent scene, it might get hurt by it somewhat, but
absolutely they are. I think what we should do before we finish the news, because we've gone a long time, we kind of given the news, but I feel like both of us should kind of share our thoughts on AEW, what we see coming out of this, what our analysis is, and then we'll finish up the news and then kind of get to the interview real quick.
Yeah, so overall, I am very excited for AEW. Obviously, I've already ordered merchandise for a company that hasn't had a show yet. I'm a big fan of the Elite and all these guys that are going to be a part of this organization. I think it's going to be a great thing for the wrestling industry. We've seen in the past when companies have competition, they're forced to put out their creative best. So yeah, I think it's going to be, like you said, if it's everything they say it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great thing, and I'm looking forward to this thing being successful.
Those are your final thoughts. If we never talk about AEW again, that's everything. Yeah,
I hope I want it to be great, and I'm hoping that we get some awesome stuff out of this, and the Jacksonville show, I want to go to it whenever the date gets dropped, and I want to see Pac and Hangman. I want to see Kenny versus somebody, Young Bucks, whoever they bring in. So I think it'll be great.
Nice. Okay, my turn. It's time to shoot. No, I'm just playing. No, yeah. So with All Elite, a couple just thoughts that I had, and I just wanted to touch on this. So basically, listening to the pep rally, listening to them say like, "Hey, potential healthcare. Hey, wins losses matter. Sports-centric product. Women will matter. Equal opportunity regardless of sex, gender, all that sort of stuff." That's all excellent. Saying like, we're not going to treat you like idiots. We're going to treat you like intelligent fans, and telling us that you're not going to be pigeonholed to be told to boo this guy or to like this guy, but you guys will determine who the stars are and who you like, and everything they're saying is like, man, that all sounds really awesome, And then seeing all the like talent that they signed up, all the different business moves that they're making, the money that's behind it. Like, this thing went from being like a bro, when the rumors first started dropping a few months ago, I like hand waved it. I was like, this thing is not real.
Yeah.
And now it's real. Like, it's really, really, really
It's real to me, damn it.
Yeah, it's real. So in some ways, I want to say this. I am a very skeptical person. And I am also someone who, you know, when I see someone behind a patio or a podium making lots of promises about how great something is going to be, I just start thinking about politics. And this is not a political show, but I start thinking about politicians being up there telling them how they're going to cut taxes, how they're going to increase, you know, spending and education and Medicare and blah, 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 blah. And it all sounds good. And it's great. And, you know, that's why people get duped. They all get duped. You know why? Because politics is a work. Okay? Politics is a work, guys. It's two people who are pretending that they hate each other, who are actually friends, who are paid by the same people, who get paid to go out there and have a pretend fight. But the entire decision is determined way ahead of time. And guess what? When it's all said and done, they both get paid. They go behind closed doors and they congratulate each other on a great show. That's politics and that's wrestling. So, with that being said, I'm very skeptical when I hear a company tell me everything that I want to hear, and people are already all in on this. And I don't want to be a buzzkill on it because, you know what? I want it to be real. I want it to be real. But I've never in my life seen it happen. I've never in my life seen the things that they're saying are going to happen all get wrapped up in one company, and I would love to see that be the case. I hope it is the case. I hope they get a television deal. I hope they get distribution rights. I hope that the booking is excellent. I hope all that crap happens. I hope it's just like All In except all the time, and
right.
like we have a real alternative in America. I want there to be 3 major companies that are pushing each other to be better, competing for talent.
Right. Guys jumping from company to company.
Yes. Oh my God, I would love that. I would love for there to be real competition in this world. I mean, WWE would be better for it. New Japan would be better for it. Like, I would love this.
Ring of Honor, MLW, Impact.
The whole industry would be better for it. But with that being said, I want to wait to see if it actually happens. Okay, that's my thing. Is I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, elite, elite. Like, I'm all in on this. Like some of our friends are all in on this. And I'm like, guys, they haven't run a show yet.
I mean, shit, I'm one of them. I mean, I ordered a shirt. I ordered a shirt for a promotion that has not put on a show yet.
I also want to point out that a lot of the people who are all in on this company hate Cody, but he's the exec VP of the company that they hate.
I don't hate Cody.
A lot of these fans who like hated Cody are like, he's got a lot of fans, but a lot of fans who are like the 3-star savior. Well, he's running the company.
Right.
You know. Also, one other thing we didn't touch on: the Khans are going to have 100% ownership, and that's confirmed now. That they put all the money behind it. Shad Khan is the one who basically financed the whole thing, and Tony Khan is going to be the president. So, I want this to be real. I want this to be real is my main thought. I hope it is real. I hope all the things they're saying are true. Whether it all spans out that way, there's a lot of working parts. Running a company like this is harder than it, you know. I feel like the scary thing is that they're going to make all these promises, and all these Fed defense squatters are going to, as soon as they don't start delivering on them, are going to turn around and talk about how terrible a company they are and how hypocritical they are and how much better WWE is, even though that company has been run like crap for, 60 years, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I hope it's real. Like, I want the wrestling industry to be a place where there's more opportunities for guys to work. Now, to answer that question about, like, things being diluted, in a way, things are diluted. And what that means is, because there's real competition, all the talent's getting signed up, the battle lines are drawn, this might hurt the independent scene in the short term. This might hurt, your ability to see guys wrestle each other from cross promotions in the short term. Long term, though, this might be better to raise visibility for the entire industry, for literally, you know how they said that whole thing when they signed up the whole UK and they're like, this is good for the UK.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't good for the UK. But to have another major product that's on network cable television where guys have more opportunities of places to work, They have more power to negotiate when it comes to big corporations like Titan, like the Khans, like Bushiroad and all these big companies. They have options, and that's a good thing for the wrestlers. It's a good thing for the fans. This is good for all of us. And there's a lot of people out there that are, I'll never understand it, but there's a lot of people who like feel like they got to defend corporations for free.
Right.
That are billion-dollar corporations that they need to defend them. They feel like they need to defend their product that they like, which, that they got $2 billion. They don't need you to defend them. Instead, let's defend the fan. Instead, let's defend the worker. Instead, let's defend, the little guys, the guys that get spit up by this industry. They just did that awesome Nigel McGuinness.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was great.
And we saw how a guy can be so talented to get spit up by this industry and chewed up and spit out,
Yeah.
But people are worried about, defending WWE's booking decisions,
Yeah.
And it's like, no, let's worry about like a Nigel McGuinness. Let's worry about Kushida's future and what's going to happen to this guy. Let's worry about, the Marco Stunts and these types of guys that are out there. Like, what's going to happen to these guys?
Yeah.
So, to me, as a fan of wrestling, I think this is nothing but good. I don't know how it's going to affect New Japan. I would love for them to have a working relationship. I hope that's what happens. If it doesn't, I'm fine with it. But I got to tell you, and we could both talk about this, I don't think that they can lose Kenny Omega. And if they lose Kenny Omega, it's a big, big, big blow.
Yeah, especially with all the big arenas and shows that they're trying to run this year. Kenny is he's a draw, man.
Dude, okay, so like the Bucks are popular. Okay, the Bucks are popular. Hangman is popular. Cody's popular. These guys are like the Elite. They're popular in Japan. They're popular, but they're not main eventers. Kenny is like the top, one of, if not the top draw in Japan.
Right. I mean, he was just the IWGP champion. He just main evented the Tokyo Dome.
You probably, I'm not Chris Harrington, but I bet you if you did the math and you did all and took a look at all the whether you guys love Kenny or not. I know there's people who don't like Kenny, but I think he did bigger business in Japan like this year than any other performer. Mm-hmm. There's no denying his star power just in Japan and also overseas. It's a big blow if they lose him. It's a bigger blow than losing Nakamura was. It's a bigger blow than losing AJ Styles was, because this guy's a real draw. Not saying that they weren't draws, not saying that they weren't big stars, but like monetarily, like this is a big deal. Now, will New Japan be fine without Kenny Omega at the top?
Yes.
From a creative standpoint, absolutely. Talent-wise, absolutely. Do they need him to have compelling stories and to give you classic matches? No, they don't. What they need him for is business.
Yes.
They can. That is such a big. Now maybe it's the Bret Hart thing. Maybe it's like the Bret Hart thing. He leaves and it creates opportunities, but I don't think it is at this point. I think that Kenny's in a position where, like, if he stays right now, he's a made man in Japan for the next decade.
Right.
They need to keep him, man. Whatever they got to do to make Kenny Omega happy, whatever that is, whether it's working with AEW or whatever, they need to keep him. That's what I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. So that's our coverage on All Elite and All Elite Rally. Like we mentioned, in a few months, a month or so, if there's no more, like the talks in New Japan are done, there's no more ties, so we will not be covering All Elite on this podcast anymore. Some other few quick news notes. Kushida is set to face off against Hiroshi Tanahashi in his final New Japan match.
I have a feeling that tears will be shed.
Yes. This match is taking place at the Road to New Beginning Tour on January 29th at Korakuen Hall, just a few days before Kushida's New Japan contract expires. Also on that New Beginning Tour, Young Boy, your favorite match is going to be that 5-on-5 elimination tag match.
Oh, I love those matches.
Between Los Ingobernables de Japón and Suzuki-gun, taking place on January 28th at Korakuen and February 7th in Aichi. Also, there'll be a rematch from New Year's Dash for the never 6-man titles as G.O.D. and Taiji Ishimori take on Togi Makabe, Toriano, and Ryusuke Taguchi. On that same card, Bushi's going to be taking on El Desperado, and Shingo Takagi will be taking on Kanemaru. We have some updated numbers on New Japan World. New Japan World increased 20% in subscriptions to 120,000 over this Wrestle Kingdom period, with the gain more outside of New Japan than inside, similar to last year. Tiger Hattori, 73 years old, who refereed a couple matches at the Dome, told Cody and Juice that their match would be the last Tokyo Dome match that he would ever officiate in. The free match of the week is from Fantastica Mania 2014. That's a 6-man tag with Mystico, Tanahashi, and Kota Ibushi taking on Mephisto, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Yujiro Takahashi. IWGP US Champion Juice Robinson is now leading a new stable in Ring of Honor. So spoiler alert, if you watch Ring of Honor regularly, Juice Robinson, like we mentioned, that he was going to be in Ring of Honor more this year. So at the TV tapings this past weekend, he started a faction called I think it's Lifeblood.
No, it's the New Blood.
No, I think it's
it's New Blood. They're taking on the Millionaires Club.
No, that's I think it's Lifeblood.
It's Lifeblood.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Juice, David Finlay, Tennille Dashwood, Bandito, Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, and Mark Haskins. So it'll be interesting to see
That's interesting.
Yeah, see what they do with Juice leading that faction. And then final thing I have here, also kind of Ring of Honor related, Flip Gordon and Chris Sabin both suffered knee injuries this past weekend. Sabin's knee injury happened at the TV tapings in Atlanta. Flip's injury happened the next night at the Honor Reign Supreme show. He had a match with Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, blew his knee out, and they had to stop the match. Ring of Honor has confirmed that both of these men have knee injuries, but the extent of what the injuries are have not been diagnosed yet, so we're not sure if it's a major tear or a slight tweak or whatever it was. So hopefully both of those guys, it's not too serious, and both of those guys can be back in action quickly. And that's going to wrap things up for the news. We're going to throw to our interview with Zack Porter, who attended Wrestle Kingdom 13 live. So check out this interview and stay around. All right, Jeremy Donovan, the young boy here. We have our good old pal, Zack Porter. Zack is a friend of the show, and he was in Japan live in person for Wrestle Kingdom 13. Also attended a bunch of other shows. You know, Zack, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem. Great to be here.
I think Zach's a little more than just a friend, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey now.
Oh, man.
I consider Zach the Kota Ibushi to our Kenny Omega, if you know what I'm saying.
Don't tell my missus.
Yeah, they're trying to, get any heat,
No, but
for
real, like, Zach, you got us those freaking amazing
Shibata shirts.
Katsuya Shibata shirts.
Yeah, no
Katsuyori Shibata.
Yeah.
And those shirts are freaking hard. Like, oh my god. And I tell people, I'm like, yeah, one of our fans got this for us. Like, I don't tell them like that we know Zach personally.
A fan of the show, just like
an avid listener.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
But you are actually an avid listener of ours, and I mean, I think we met pretty much through the show, really, right?
Yeah, through our mutual friend Rich.
Yeah, Rich Lada.
Like, I would, like, yeah, when I met you, I was like, oh, Zack Porter? Like, the Zack Porter? Like, this is crazy.
Oh, shucks.
But, so you got back, and, I mean, what, you said you're feeling, like, out of it, right?
Oh, jet lag is a mother. But, yeah, I got back Tuesday night, late, so right back to work the next morning.
First the Tokyo Dome, now Keepin It Strong Style. I mean,
dude, what a run!
Oh, well, don't forget first ring Shinkiba the night before Tokyo Dome too. So.
Oh man.
So So the first ring Shinkiba, was that the Stardom show?
That was the Stardom show. I only made it to the second night of the 2-night event on the second and third, but if you guys ever get a chance to go to Stardom, go for it.
Yeah, they're actually going to be in New York WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, I'm like, we're trying to iron out the details. I mean, Stardom's on the horizon, DDT. Obviously, we're going to the New Japan show. It's kind of like so weird. 2019 New York, you might be able to go to like 3 Japanese promotions. Like,
Yeah.
all the Dragon Gate guys are coming and working with WWE. It's so weird, man.
Yeah.
But so I mean, so tell us about that. Let's start off with that. How was the Stardom show? What was your experience like?
Well, that was my first real Joshi show, and by golly, that was it was fun. It was like the perfect fan experience. It's like right off the bat, Mayu Iwatani was there, and she was still injured from I think it was her knee or her ankle injury, but she greeted the fans and everything like that. But overall, the fan experience of that, I tell you what, after the show, I ended up subscribing to Stardom World and trying to catch more of their shows. But yeah, they made up for the Rambo not being in this year's New Japan show.
What, they brought out Great Kabuki, or they brought out Yoshiaki Fujiwara? Like
They had cheeseburger?
they had cheeseburger there. What do you say?
I wish Manami Toyota and
Aja Kong.
Or even Bull Nakano or even Megumi Kudo.
They brought out Dump Matsumoto. Like, what are they doing?
But yeah, they had overall it was a really good show.
They had a Rambo.
Yeah, they had a Rambo at the very end, so they had a brief intermission after all the different matches, and so they had every girl come out, and it was just like a big battle royale, and it was even fun seeing Viper get out of the ring for a while and sit on some poor fan's lap.
Oh, really?
Oh.
The guy's like, ooh. But
I was hearing that the reports were that, like, for the Joshi shows, it's primarily all men fans. Is that?
There's a nice mix of young women and little girls and everything like that, with sprinkled in with all the older gents.
Compared to, like, say, your experience at the Tokyo Dome, was there more? Would you say there's like more fans? Like, obviously it's a little different, but I mean, did you see like a lot more women, generally speaking, at like the New Japan show or like at the Stardom show?
Overall, more women at the Tokyo Dome than the.
Interesting. It's all, we watch shows all the time in New Japan World. You look in the crowd, you definitely see a lot of women in the crowd.
A lot more than you do at like an Evolve show or at like a PWG or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that was your first time going to a Joshi show. I mean, have you, like, what's your experience with Joshi before that? Like,
I'm a big AJW fan, JPW fan, but, I love those 90s Egg Dome shows.
So, yeah, I mean, so obviously if you're fans of those promotions, we're probably talking the 90s and some 80s. Mm-hmm. What were your expectations going to this show, and I mean, how did that compare to like what you've seen classically speaking?
Comparatively, it's a far different product. I think they're not. I guess I don't know how to say. It's not really geared to the hardcore fan. Maybe it's just an easy, accessible show. Probably geared more towards the newer fans, younger fans, and whatnot. Not as crazy violent as some of those AJW shows can be. Yeah, they're not out there to murder somebody like, Kudo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you saw Uncle Dave out there, right?
Oh, I saw Dave. You can't miss him with that hot teal San Jose Sharks starter jacket. Heck, I even ran into him the next day.
Nice. You get a chance to talk with him a little bit?
My friends were more interested in talking to him. I ended up talking to, I guess, his son, Cody.
Yeah, his son was there. Yeah.
Poor kid looked bored.
I hope Dave's not listening to this and he's like, what? No, that's awesome, man. So, I mean, someone who maybe isn't as familiar with like the Stardom product or something like that, I mean, what did you see that was impressive? Who to look out for, and what would you say, like, to someone who wanted to maybe get into Joshi?
I'd say if you really want a good, depending on who, your favorite kind of style of, I guess a fighter or whatnot, they've got all different kinds. They've got your power, like Junko Kiona. They've got a lot of your fast technicals, folks like Kagetsu.
Oh, she's great.
Oh, she's a blast, funny as heck. Who else is there? I'm a big fan of Hayashida Utami, the rookie. Nice girl. Killer finish. I love her. She's bringing back the torture rack.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when I was there, she ended up beating Starlight Kid. Oh, no spoilers. Sorry. Spoilers.
It's all right. I mean,
You can spoil on this show. I don't think that there's a lot of crossover. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's overall. It's just a blast of a show.
So you went to how many shows on this?
This trip, I only made it out to 2, just because the jet lag was that bad. I couldn't make it out to that the first night of the Stardom show, and then there was a bunch of consecutive nights where you had Tokyo Joshi Pro, you had Fight Club Pro.
That was a show that Tozawa was on, right? Yeah.
Satomura. A lot of the I think there was some BJ, Big Japan people on there and whatnot. But
so was the Stardom show, would that be considered like one of their bigger shows of the year, or were they just kind of trying to capitalize off people being in town for Wrestle Kingdom?
I think that's one of their bigger shows. Even though 2 days later they were in Osaka for one of their other shows. But
Gotcha.
Do you know where they run in Osaka? I'm assuming it's not Joe Hall.
Oh God, no, it's not Joe. It's not, not off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you at the top of my head, but
So would that show be a kind of a good starting point for somebody new to kind of jump in on this big show, or should they watch some other stuff before this show?
I think it's a really good show. Good, it's a good jumping point. Jumping on point. Same for probably a lot of the other Joshi promotions and whatnot. Tokyo Joshi's a lot of accessible for newer fans and whatnot.
Yeah, I've always found that a little intimidating because people that are fans of Joshi will pretty much tell you, they're like, oh, there's a million promotions out there. I mean, you got Ice Ribbon, you got Wave,
Tokyo Joshi Pro.
Yeah, Joshi Pro, Sendai Girl, yeah, Sendai. All this stuff. And I mean, and they're all pretty prominently known.
Yeah.
Stardom seems to be the one that's making the most waves. I think, but I don't know. I've heard conflicting things. I've heard some people say, "Oh, it's only because they stream more."
It probably helps they have a streaming service,
but they're not actually bigger than the other companies around them, sort of thing. But then this year, there was a report that came out that said that they had more, like overall throughout the year, they had more attendance to all their shows cumulatively than any like Joshi promotion in the last like 12 years or something like that. So they're having by the numbers, what seems to be a pretty successful year. But yeah, I mean, there's already so much wrestling in the world. It's like Joshi is like this niche kind of thing, and it's like, wow, it's like, how do I even start to tackle that beast, Yeah. But obviously, I think people's, I think people are becoming more cognizant of it as WWE kind of exposes people to the talent that's involved with it, picking up Io and picking up,
Mako, Satomura.
Yeah, all these girls. Yeah. So I think people are starting to realize, like, oh, maybe the thing we've been hearing for the last 20 years, that these girls really can have the best wrestlers, like, it might be true.
Yeah. Io Shirai and Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear about what's going on with AEW and them potentially trying to pick up some of the girls over there? And what do you...
No, not really. I honestly, probably one of the few people in the world who just all that AEW stuff is over their head. Usually not on my radar.
You didn't see the what's it called?
The rally.
The rally.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
I think you were probably still in Japan when that was going on.
Or was it Wednesday they had that rally?
That was Tuesday.
Yeah, I was probably in mid-flight. On the way back, or stuck in Houston.
Brandy did mention potentially trying to bring in some of those girls from over there.
Yeah, because Brandy's wrestled, I think, Stardom. Yeah, so yeah, she has a relationship growing there.
And they've got a partnership with OWE from China. So Shima and T-Hawk and all those, Dragon Gate guys basically. So really interesting stuff. But yeah, you got a look on your face.
It's like, stay away. That's just my opinion.
So I mean, obviously you're a really big, pro Resu fan. I mean, that's pretty much what you consume, right? I mean,
Yeah.
tell us about your fandom and like how you got into, wrestling.
Well, I'm a big fan of certain guys from the 90s, like even though they made their big break in FMW, like I was a big Hayabusa fan. I'm a giant Super Dolphin fan. Hopefully more people know about him than probably what most folks know about him. I miss him. I wish, let's see, who else is really, I'm a big fan of, Everyone, harkens back to, was it Best Super Juniors 94?
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong. That's just the stack lineup. Everyone goes for that. But what else? Always big fan of Kobashi and, the Four Pillars and everything like that. And Noah.
Yeah, absolutely.
AJPW and whatnot. But...
So how'd you get into it? Because like me, all of us, we probably started watching wrestling when we were kids. But like for me... Growing up, I was watching mainly just WWF and WCW, and like I would see some New Japan guys come over to WCW, or as I got older and started reading dirt sheets, I would hear about certain dudes, and then I would start seeing dudes on like Ring of Honor. But like, I really never watched or tried to find like tapes or videos of any of these guys. So how did you really like get into that scene?
No lie, like my first real introduction to New Japan, if anything, was I think like a lot of folks was Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Okay.
Just getting blown away by that, just like Chris Charlton, that Nakamura Kota Ibushi thing. I'm like, I've got to look back into this.
Prior to that, you weren't really watching Japanese wrestling?
It was just, it was more like, some dabbles in here and there, but I didn't get like fully into it until probably that mind-blowing match.
Yeah.
What were you watching before that?
Just occasional stuff you could find on.
No, I mean in general, like.
In general,
yeah.
I was a ECW guy. I was, like most kids of my, most people of my age group, it's Attitude Era,
yeah,
WCW and whatnot. But like, my favorite guy growing up was Jericho.
Oh wow!
Nowadays, it's just like I'm enjoying his stuff, but I'm not too fan of the Roughneck.
Really?
Oh, you don't.
I love the old technical.
You like the Lionheart.
I like the Lionheart. I miss that Lion Tamer.
Huh?
You like the man of 1,004 holes.
Yeah, exactly.
I like conspiracy Jericho. So I mean, pretty much, it wasn't like you were like a tape trade or any of these things. You pretty much got introduced to Japanese wrestling with Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Yeah, and then I found like the whole All Japan G Drive where they had like the archive. Found that. Yeah, just going back and
we got a hookup with that still actually right now on the low. But yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, what happened? I mean, you saw Nakamura and Kota Ibushi, and suddenly all of a sudden you're watching like Toryumon from like you're watching some
not that deep.
You're watching some dusty old like Michinoku Pro matches. Like, how did this happen?
Gotta love that Grand Naniwa.
Yeah, you're big into that like Grand Naniwa and like
Sasuke,
Grand Hamada. Like, you like this stuff. Yeah. I mean, how did you get into that?
It's different than It's something, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I said, it's different from what we're used to over here. Mm-hmm. So it's just lap it up and whatnot. Yeah. Sorry.
So I mean, what like right now, like what do you watch mostly? Is it like New Japan or
mostly New Japan when I can. If I get the Road 2 show digest from you guys, because let's face it, I'm not watching World Tag League. If you guys are gonna suck it up and do that, then I will. I'll listen and get the results.
Nice. So let's talk about your experience at Wrestle Kingdom. So how many Wrestle Kingdoms have you been to?
This is my first one.
Oh, first one.
Yeah.
But you said you've been to Japan what 7 times?
About 6 or 7 times, yeah.
And was it all going to New Japan shows?
Oh, not all of it. Usually by the time I was in town, they were either in another part of the country or whatnot. Like I usually go in the springtime or in the fall time, so there's usually not a big show going on. Only there's the minor Korakuen and whatnot, but never got a chance to make it out there.
So this was the first Wrestle Kingdom. So tell us all about it, man. Like the experience, that's everything, man.
Just taking the train down there was to Suidobashi, where the dome is. It's just you see a lot of the fans on there. I saw young kids. I've never seen so much LIJ jackets, hats everywhere. At least on the train or in the Dome City and whatnot. And so we got down there with me and my friends, and we decided to hit up Fridays.
Your favorite traditional Japanese restaurant?
Exactly. Get the traditional mozzarella sticks. Oh, God. And pre-game before the show, and like I was telling you guys earlier, we got a little too heavy with the beers, and we missed the pre-show, but got a nice little consolation prize in seeing Meiko Satomura eating her tacos.
Did you say anything to her?
Oh no, I've got far too much respect for her to be that fan that comes up and asks for a picture or anything or say I appreciate.
You should have shot.
Oh man.
So I mean, you said that you were at Fridays. I mean, did you get to go to the Wrestle Kingdom meetup with WH Park and all those guys?
No, actually, I ran into him on the night before at the Stardom show, and he was asking if I was going to go to that, but I didn't end up going because I had to meet up with my friends. My friend who bought the actual tickets was coming in from Osaka, and we can't really do anything inside because he's got to be the one to pick up tickets, show ID and whatnot, so I didn't get a chance to get down there until well after their brunch.
Did you tell, when you met him, did you tell him how much better our podcast is than his?
Didn't come to mind at the time.
That would have been the first thing I would have said. I've been like, hello, WH, my show's better than yours. No, I'm just playing. No, I love those guys. I love everything they do. So that's interesting. How did you know it was him? You just recognize him?
I just recognized the voice. He's got a very distinct voice. And he happened to be 2 rows up where I was standing. Because I had standing room tickets. So he was
at the Stardom show.
At the Stardom show.
All the heavy hitters were there. Dave, WH, ZP, everybody.
So how was your seats for the Dome?
Actually, not bad considering. I guess my friend got our tickets a little later than I would have preferred. We were able to get first floor stands, which is not on the floor where the arena A, B, and ringside, but just in I guess perspective, it would be the field box seats of a baseball field, so it's right kind of close and whatnot. But really not a bad seat. You can't really see all that too well, but they've got the big screens in the back to at least help.
See, that's what I'm nervous about. So I want to go next year, and I was questioning that. I've heard a lot of people say the experience is awesome, but there's not great seat. It's not a great venue to actually watch wrestling.
It's really big.
So it looks huge on TV. Yeah.
So I mean, in those can you not see what's going on?
You can where I was, you could see basically what was going on. But if you wanted a better idea, you'd switch between the actual ring and maybe the Jumbotron.
So what was the energy like? What was your experience being in the Dome for the first time and all that? Kind of tell us about it.
Well, not technically my first time in the Dome. I've been for baseball games, but it's. otherwise, yeah, the just the overall excitement for the show, especially when we got seated, it was just about to start with the Ospreay Kota match, and everybody, you could just feel the energy in there, ready for a killer match, which I thought delivered. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I about screamed at Ospreay for murdering that gorgeous man.
Yeah. How was the reaction to the Ibushi being stretchered off angle?
There were, you could hear the some of the concerned female fans, screaming "Bushi!" Just a general concern. For I was concerned and just like, oh no, he broke him.
Same. That I was in my living room and I was like, Bushi! Bushi! Yeah.
But yeah, it was good to see him that he, I guess he had done some sort of signal to the fans. I thought I heard some cheers as they were stretchering him off and whatnot. So
Nice. So, with the show, I mean, give us some of your overall thoughts. Obviously we did a review show, but you had a first-hand account, so I want to hear what you thought about everything, what you noticed, what you picked up on.
Let's see. We talked about the hard-hitting aspect of that first match with Ospreay and Kota Ibushi. Just you could hear everybody just going ooh, and you got a lot of the Western fans whenever they were doing some of those face smacks and whatnot. You got a lot of. I was in the area where there's a lot of
Westerners.
You're in the Gaijin section.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but yeah, a lot of Gaijins with the. So I guess a lot of them were cheering for Ibushi along with me. I guess he's the elite guy, right?
Yeah, the whole he's associated with Kenny and all those guys. So.
But yeah, the atmosphere was just fantastic. Like some of the spots, I can get a real feel for the crowd in some of the matches because I can only hold it in so long, and like I missed, I guess, the majority of the.
You're talking about like P break.
Yeah. Even try to go and there's the queue is just too long, so I come back. I watch at least some of the Ishimori Kushida match, which is still pretty good. I was able to catch the final sequence of that, and just there's a lot of surprise folks to see that, at least in my area. But
they weren't reading the tea leaves. They should have been listening to Keepin It Strong Style. They would have known.
Yeah.
But if you wanted some, if you want I'd say the matches that everybody was surprised for is definitely probably the final three. Obviously, your Okada, White, the Jericho, Naito, and of course the Tanahashi. I was freaking out during that whole match.
Yeah. So Okada Jay White. Let's talk about a couple of things here. So Okada comes back as the Rainmaker.
Oh.
What's the energy like when that happens?
When I'm not gonna lie, like Josh here, when his music came back. I can show you the video. I took video of when the music just stayed playing and no remix. I'm like, oh, he's back. And I about freaked out. And then, it was just great to see the Okada dollars or the Okada bucks.
Did you catch one?
Oh, I was too far away from that. I was on the other side. But, seeing that, and then everybody almost like that video.
Oh, the
fake video.
The fake video in the bar, yeah.
You know what? At first, I thought it was real.
So did I.
I thought it was real because I was like, this man is beloved.
I'm like, oh my God, the shorts are back. He's back! He's back. But I think, just the ebb and flow of that match, and then, with the finish happening.
Yeah, so
everybody was like...
this Jay White pinning Okada clean, was everybody just kind of like mouth open, like what happened?
Like what happened? I think my buddy, the closest, my buddy that was with me, he's an Aussie, and he's like, oh, this guy's gonna be, he's the future, and lo and behold.
Is that how do you think that people there thought like, dusty old Jay White sucks and like this is awful and like they made a terrible decision, or do you think was the vibe there like, this guy's the future and this is his like coming out party? I mean, what did it seem like?
I guess to some of the Western fans, my assumption is it's probably more of the former with who is this guy? Like, why is this guy going over and whatnot? It's just this isn't even right. Like, that's like what my buddy who finished the match today said. I don't understand why he went over. I'm like, just let Ghetto do his Ghetto magic. There's a reason for everything with him, but they gotta have. Lo and behold, that was probably a telltale sign of what was going to happen later that night. They got to replace.
So, what are your thoughts on Jay White? How do you feel about him?
I think he's not quite there. I think he's getting there. I think if he can somehow bottle up what he did in San Francisco at the Cow Palace, I think in just that natural heat that he got, and I'm sure not every show there's going to be a JR where you can throw a Juice Robinson into and get that kind of heat. But I think he's there, getting there.
Gotcha. So, do you have any concerns of him being one of the featured guys in main events this year?
Not really. I think it's just really who they have that's, I guess, an antagonist to. You've got all these, your typical, I guess, lack of a better term, babyface. Your antagonist, protagonist, like Tanahashi, Okada, Naito. You got to have something other than Minoru Suzuki. You got to have something there. I think he can. I think he can get to that level.
Gotcha. So overall, do you think the match delivered?
To me, it did.
Yeah.
That was the ending I was all Okada, and then when he was able to turn that into the Blade Runner, I was like most people had their jaws on the.
Yeah, dude. I was shook. Like I was expecting a kick out, but then when the 3 happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he beat him!" It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a better match than I was
anticipating.
Yeah, anticipating. So
over delivered
for me. Sorry, Rich.
Oh my gosh! All right, so Tanahashi and Kenny Omega.
What about Jericho Naito?
Oh yeah, sorry, I skipped them.
Jericho's your favorite wrestler.
Yeah,
well,
sorry.
He was. I've been for the last couple of years. I was definitely in that anti-hero Naito. I'm all about Lij.
Lij is freaking awesome.
But that match, I was all over. Naito, just whoop his. Please.
This is a non-PG show. You can say ass, sir. It's okay.
Sorry. But not sorry. But it was just just a crazy match, and then I was not a big fan of the DQ because I want my 2 guys in a ring just wrestling as opposed to outside beating the ever-living crap out of one another.
Gotcha. So you weren't a big fan of the whole brawling and the weapons and stuff.
But there was some lighthearted moments. Like I love the ringing of the bell.
Oh yeah.
We popped for that so hard. Oh my god. Yeah, we really popped for that. And then when he was like, "Winner! I won!"
But seeing some of the highlights that I didn't obviously didn't get a good glimpse of seeing, like that DDT spot on the table, which is didn't seem as bad,
far away,
1,000 feet back compared to probably not 1,000 feet, but
yeah, he took a Jun Akiyama head spike, yeah. It's freaking nuts.
What about the pile driver on the ramp? How was the view of that?
Not too bad. We saw that it was a pile driver, but I couldn't really tell how.
You couldn't see that he peeled a piece of his hair off of his head.
Not that eagle eye, but yeah. Ooh, didn't look too bad. I guess in some of the AEW rally show, he didn't look like he got.
Yeah. Probably got it all cleaned up. Yeah.
Comb over and whatnot.
So I'm guessing for you the match of the night though had to be Kenny and Tanahashi.
I think that was the primary reason why I went to the show itself. I got to see the Ace.
Nice.
Take out Kenny. As much as I respect Kenny, go Ace. Yeah.
So how was the environment for that match?
Surprisingly, not really surprisingly enough, Kenny's probably got a large Japanese following over there, but I guess in comparison to Tanahashi, it's maybe 2-1, 3-1 kind of a.
Really?
So you would say majority of the crowd was going for Tana?
I would say so. At least the majority of the crowd around me was pro Kenny.
Yeah, because you were with the Gaijins.
Yeah, all the Gaijins. I'm just like, I'm that guy that's screaming like the girls, Tana! To the point where I'm probably putting the poor lady in front of me, making her deaf.
Did she say something to you?
Oh no, she cowered and covered her ears, and I was like, sorry, but not sorry. Still, cheering on my ace. But yeah, there's some of the spots in there that I think sucked a lot of the air out of the crowd, like the Chekhov's table, where he high five flowed through the table and missed.
Yeah, that was a crazy spot.
I thought he was done. I thought he was gonna get counted out, and then I don't know why Kenny threw him in, but trying to be that
fair play.
Fair play.
He wanted to pin that man.
Bad mistake.
Minoru Suzuki would have let him get counted out. Take that win.
Yes.
Probably gotcha him, and then an extra time.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been on this big '80s rewatching kick, and you let a bitch get counted out. Okay?
Yeah.
A win's a win. Okay.
A win is a win.
So when Tanahashi wins, like,
I'm freaking out.
You're freaking. Is everybody just freaking out? Except the Gaijin?
Except the Gaijin around me. Yeah, they're all like sad, disappointed. They walk out. They're going up the stairs. I'm freaking out, like, woo, freak, yeah.
So like the Gaijin that were there, they thought Kenny was definitely going over, sort of thing.
Or just the fact that they probably knew that they were on their way out, but just want to cheer. But yeah.
What did you think? Were you predicting Kenny to go over, or did you actually?
Oh no, I was on the Aces coattails.
See,
because
I predicted Tanahashi to win, but by no means was that easy decision. I thought Kenny was staying, and I still think that there's a good chance he might even still stay, even with all the reports and stuff. So that was not an easy choice for me. I mean, but over there, the general consensus, you would say most people thought Tanahashi had that locked up, or was that? I mean, because it seems shocking to a lot of people in the States.
Yeah,
that's what I see.
Yeah, I think that more so than probably over there. I think a good contention of the fans probably were. I would imagine they'd probably think, in all honesty, Kenny would probably beat. Kenny should beat. Tanahashi. He's the more complete athlete now, compared to Tanahashi is now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he didn't.
So yeah, anything else you want to add about your experience or time in Japan?
I'd say if you guys get a chance to go. Just pack warm.
What about your shirt? Look, I think you're wearing the band that I saw you checking out.
Oh yeah, like every time I'm over there, I try to go see some garage rock, some punk shows down there in the basement bars. This time I went to go see like my really good friend Bryce's wife's band, Stompin' Riff Raffs.
Yeah, that looked awesome.
But yeah, one of the members jumping on their keyboard playing the theremin crazily, and then saw one of my other favorite guys fly in his one-man Garbage, and it's basically he's just a guy in a suit with a fly mask just playing drums with one leg and then guitar on the other one.
That sounds nuts.
I'll show you the video later. But every time I try to go see some sort of live music, whether it be that or even jazz bars.
You got to, you're a big jazz head.
Yeah.
You got to pick up some shirts for us from the New Japan store. Did you get to see a lot of like wrestling stores, or I think you were going to like one of the wrestling bars too, right?
I was gonna try to go see, because like I work with Killer Khan's daughter. Much to everyone's surprise.
I was just watching a Killer Khan match just not that long ago.
I was. I let friend of the show, Rich, know that. Yeah, we work with Killer Khan's daughter. And he's like, what? It's like, I don't know how you can't miss an over 6 foot tall Japanese woman in our office. But yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was my coworker over there was trying to get me to go to his bar. I know Yano's got a bar over there and whatnot, but I think I tried to go to the Haoming, but I couldn't find that in Shibuya. No matter how hard, with Google Maps and whatnot. But
Why didn't you go to Ribera, get yourself a satin jacket?
well, I'm not a wrestler, first off, or at least I can't come across as one. But I ended up going to Mr. Danger. He's I guess he's an old Big Japan deathmatch guy.
Yeah.
I went to his steakhouse, which is like, I didn't even realize it was like a minute away from my hostel over there. So if you get a chance, go to. He's in Asakusa. But other than that, yeah, I went to the pro shop for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got a nice Kojima shirt,
I got an actual young boy shirt, and even though I got it a whole size up, it makes me definitely look like a young boy. Gives me some body weight goals. I've actually been dropping, but I'm gonna have to drop some more for this
I'm
thing.
gonna have to stop drinking this beer.
Yeah.
Never.
Never. But yeah, other than that, I think I went to a couple shops in my favorite parts of town, and I was able to find some nice some wrestling merch, like Super Delphin photo book. I found a nice
Oh, that's awesome.
Kenta Kobashi photo book. So some good scores.
Nice.
Any last recommendations from your time in Japan? Thing you want to leave us with?
Get your ticket if you decide to go. Like I did, I decided to go after G1. Just be prepared. E Plus, I think that's what it is. E Plus is the ticket the ticket purveyor for Wrestle Kingdom tickets. Just be on the lookout, because usually they sell those at the end of October to get your tickets early. Don't be like my buddy waiting last minute. But other than that, once you get an idea, start looking for your tickets.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah.
And then if you get an idea of how long you want to stay, and then start thinking whether or not you want to do a hotel, hostel kind of a thing, depending on your budget.
I live on the streets.
I wouldn't recommend that this time of year. It's a little too cold.
Oh, one quick thing. Okay, I forgot. There was something I wanted to ask you. So obviously you were in the Dome. Did you watch New Year's Dash? And did you go to one of the live viewing, or did you just watch it on your own? And what are your thoughts with the direction of the company post Wrestle Kingdom, post Elite leaving, and post New Year's Dash?
Well, first off, couldn't score a ticket if my life depended on, because that was probably all gone. I think, like you guys said, that the club in Japan, the New Japan club, just the Japanese representation of it, they got first crack. I think those were sold out long before even us Western fans could get a hold of them.
Yeah, I know the guys from Super J-Cast were there, but there's only about 6 or 7 gaijin in the building, basically.
Trent's mom.
Trent's mom was there, yeah.
Who's her contact? But yeah, I didn't make it out there. In all honesty, I probably didn't even have enough time to watch either the streaming on New Japan World. I think I got my synopsis from you guys, at least from you, Josh, mid call, because I think while I'm there, I'm gonna go explore, and go shop while I can.
But you've heard us, and you've seen kind of what the direction is for New Beginning and the rest of the year. So what are you thinking so far of how 2019 is going to look?
Well, they've got the talent pool, and not as the big names as you got the Elite leaving, but I think they're in good hands with Geto. I'm kind of looking, unlike Josh, I'm probably looking forward to that Naito Taichi feud, because
did you say unlike
Josh, I think, are you not? I know you're not the Tai Chi guy.
I didn't say I wasn't. I'm excited about it.
Well, you did say we're both not Tai Chi guys, but
I've been putting over Tai Chi this year.
Yeah, he's good. I know you've been giving his respect, his dues, but I know you're not.
I've been putting over Tai Chi this year. Like, what are we talking about? I mean, like, yes, I don't think necessarily this is the most appealing match in the world, but I am excited because I think the story is interesting, and you know, if this match is any bit as good as the one they had last year, then it's gonna be a good match. It's gonna be a good card. So yeah, I'm not crapping on it the way, you know, a lot of the pundits and wrestling analysts are, that sort of thing.
As long as Miho Abe is there, right?
Yeah. Hey, it brings more Miho Abe, then I'm down for it. But yeah, man, so I think that's going to wrap it up, man. Thanks again for coming on and joining us. Thanks for the shirts and sharing your experience with us.
I guess we're going to try to do it next year, right?
Yeah.
Try to let's get a group together.
Yes.
2 shows.
Oh, God, I'm going to be so poor.
KI Strong Style takes Japan.
Let's do it.
I'll be your guide.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was our interview with Zack Porter. Thanks again, Zack, for coming on. And
thank you, Zack, for putting me onto a new drink, which was really good. It's one of his namesakes, Zack Porter. He's got a love for the porters, so he put me onto this this really good porter here. It's called With Cream, Please. Stuff is delicious. Really, really good stuff. But yeah, we had a great time just kind of sitting here and like chilling back, relaxing, watching. I made you guys watch Andre the Giant versus.
Oh my gosh,
Killer Khan.
Killer Khan, that was hilarious. It's not a joke,
bro. That match is incredible.
Oh my gosh, but
that match was better than everything on Fantastica Mania.
Yeah.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
That match was really good. Anyway, so yeah, we had a great time, Zack. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for picking up our shirts from the official New Japan
I got me a
store.
Kojima shirt.
Yeah, I got a Young Lion shirt, which is pretty cool. And so I was glad to have him on here. Also, last week I know we mentioned it, but we did a guest spot on The Outsider's Edge with Rance and Kyle, discussing Wrestle Kingdom and also discussing the AEW stuff. So, you know, if you want to get our thoughts on that, we actually had some more like kind of in-depth and kind of discussion-based stuff. So you might want to check that out. It was a good episode. Yeah. I also did a guest spot last week on Grown Men Watch This Shit. Both of these shows are part of the Social Suplex Network. So check us out there. And Jeremy, take us home.
Yeah, so next week we'll be back with more coverage on Fantastica Mania and all the latest news.
We're trying to work on maybe having someone help us with that show.
Yeah.
Maybe a guest spot. We're reaching out.
Yeah, so there might be a special guest next week.
It would be a really good special guest.
Big time.
Yeah, like a big time. So, and if that doesn't happen, then just kind of forget I said this.
Make sure you connect with us on social media, on Twitter. The show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. Also follow at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also, you can find us at the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com, if you want to be involved with Social Suplex or have any questions. Be on the lookout for our Pro Wrestling Tees store coming soon. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. The Outsider's Edge with Rance and Kyle. Our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. We also have the Wilfred Watches podcast and the Omega Luke Fantasy Booking podcast. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review. And until next time, what are we saying?
We haven't decided on one.
We keep forgetting to talk about this.
We haven't discussed it at all.
Are we doing the goodbye, good night, or Ichiban, or?
Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.
Oh man.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.